Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, and so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show. Booyah!
Let's get it, ladies and gentlemen. It is Monday, July 3rd. Tomorrow's the 4th. There is no show tomorrow, but after a massive weekend for the Cavs in free agency, I am joined now by the two best shooters on the UCSS crew. Not named Mike Lucas. That is the Miami drug dealer himself, Jason Lloyd, and his white-on-white linens to start the show.
It's khaki, tan linen.
The Cavs got Max Strus. We got Jason Lloyd.
That is kind of fire. That is kind of fire. I said, man, I like that. Where you going, dog?
It's a good look. No, I told you. It actually is a good look.
That's all. It's going home. Summertime. Happy 4th.
And then we got G. Bush here to my right. G, big weekend?
Yeah, I can't hear nothing, so, yeah. I was just cleaning my earpiece out.
He's not kidding. I think that's literally what he was doing.
Can we get some hand sanitizers at the set, Earl?
Here we go.
Okay, you can hear now. We are back. We are locked and loaded. We are ready to let hot takes fly. The Cavs are going to let three balls fly this year.
Listen, good weekend. Come on, man. You guys out there are delusional. You guys are delusional. We'll tell you how delusional you are. And I thought I was a Dookie knee jerk. Boy, I tell you what, man. It's been a 48 hours. These boys out here. There we go.
Yeah, he got that hand sanitizer after messing around with the earpiece.
Oh,
yeah, it's.
You can't
I thought you were trying to tell me something, Earl. Bringing hand sanitizer out here.
Hey, he's like, man.
I ain't dirty. I showered.
No, we got a big show for you guys. And we
phobia.
appreciate everyone tuning in. Like I said, no show tomorrow, but we are here today on the 3rd following a massive weekend in free agency for the Cavs. They signed Max Strus in a sign and trade with the Heat. They got Strus and Niang, Ty Jerome, Damian Jones. We'll talk about each of those moves, what they paid, was it worth it, how they'll affect the team moving forward. We're also going to talk a little Guardians. They got 2 All-Stars. And on the day Clase was named an All-Star, he gave up 4 runs for the first time in his career. So impeccable timing, but we'll break down that and preview a big series against the Braves coming up. We'll talk a little Browns. Former Browns running back Greg Pruitt is going to make his UCSS debut.
In the building?
He was supposed to come on a couple weeks ago. It didn't work, so fingers crossed it all goes smoothly this time. But, guys, we can't start anywhere without the big news of the weekend, and that is what the Cavs did in free agency. How we're going to do this, just so you guys know, we're going to try to go player by player, talk about each player and their impact on the team for the upcoming season. Then we'll do it in totality, how much better are the Cavs than they were before. So let's start with the big move. G, you got your Red Bull? Mm-hmm. Jason
ready to go.
His best Miami Vice gear. And we'll start with the guy they got from Miami. That's Max Strus in a sign and trade with the Heat. They had to give up Jetty Osman and Lamar Stevens in a second-round pick to fit the 4-year, $63 million deal into their cap. Jason, let's start with you. Max Strus was the guy you said last week was your number 1 target.
Yeah.
They got him here. How's the fit? How do you like it? Did they overpay? The floor is yours.
It's probably a little bit of an overpay, but that's okay. Because wait till you see where these salaries are going in the next couple of years. So this is significant to me because I don't know this exactly, but I believe this is easily one of the biggest contracts they've given out to a street free agent. I think Larry Hughes got $70 million, Lauri Markkanen was $67, and now this. I think those are the 3 biggest. I don't count LeBron coming back. That's a whole different category. And I'm not talking about retaining your own guys. I'm talking about convincing someone else to come to Cleveland. The Cavs for 50 years have struggled to get free agents to come here. Now listen, Max Strus is not Kevin Durant. He's not a top-level guy. But for what their needs were and what his skill set is, it was as good of a fit as they were going to find. And for that reason, I think they nailed it. They had a great weekend. And Strus is one of those guys that Miami sort of picked off the trash heap, cultivated, turned him into a good shooter. He struggled in the finals. I don't know if that's necessarily cause for concern. The whole, is he a product of the Miami system? I think that's a fair question to ask, and I guess we're going to get the answer to that. But he's certainly an upgrade over what they had. I think he slides right into the starting small forward spot, just based on skill set, shooting, the ability to spread the floor. And I just think that was the right guy. That was the guy to go after, and they got him. And I think overall, we'll get into it more as the show goes on. I think they had a really good weekend.
Man, listen. This was a guy who was targeted as the number 1 or one of the top shooters available in free agency. One of the top shooters. So the situation is, when you go out and you're able to get him, and we'll get into this thing. I don't know what the notion about they overpaid. They overpaid. They paid too much. Or listen, when you are the Cavs, haven't we? Maybe y'all don't listen to the stuff we be saying sometimes. And granted, sometimes you shouldn't listen to what we saying. But when you talking about getting guys to come to Cleveland, you are not a destination city. So when you're not a destination city, you're going to have to overpay. That's just the reality of it. If they want me to go do some radio or television in like Albuquerque, New Mexico, I'm not going to Albuquerque to do no, I'm cool, bro. They're going to have to offer me a bag. They have to offer my wife a bag. They got to give me a house. They got to give me unlimited Red Bull and vodkas. Like, no, you got to understand that Cleveland is not an area and it's not a destination city. This was a main target, a main area that we needed to get solidified, which was shooting. And then here's another thing. I'm hearing people talking about floating this around, that Jetty and Lamar Stevens were somehow ballers and they gave up too much.
I don't get
what? That drew me. Listen, Jetty and Stevens could not get on the court in the first round of the playoffs against the Knicks for good reason. The Cavs signed Max Strus, who was the starting 2/3 on an NBA Finals team. The numbers, when you put them side by side, look comparable. They are completely different players. One was a third, fourth option on a starting unit. The other guy was the first or second option on a terrible bench.
Strus was a starter on a team that went to the finals.
Thank you. He was just playing last week. Last time I checked, he was done weeks ago. Like, and that's the thought process. This is what happens in Cleveland. We get our little pieces and army men, and we get them, and we be thinking that in our little bubble that these dudes are on the same level or playing field. They're not, man.
Jetty's a wonderful human being.
Love
He's a
him to
nice
death.
man.
He's been here for 12 years.
I understand why fans like him, but he's not great at the basketball.
Y'all want the reality? If the Cavs had any ounce of confidence Jetty could do what Strus could do, they take Jetty for the $6.7 million exception and don't have to spend $63 million to bring in a guy from Miami. If they had any ounce of confidence, he could even do 60%, 55%. But they are different players. And here's some numbers that I think really emphasize what Strus brings to the table. We always talk about the Cavs being a pick-and-roll heavy offense, which I want to talk about how Strus coming in will affect and maybe change up their offense in a sec. But when you have a pick-and-roll heavy offense with two ball handlers like Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland, you need guys to space the floor, right? Especially in the corners when you're running pick-and-roll so it's all spaced out. Last season, Max Strus went 73 of 162 from the corner on threes. That is 45.4% on corner threes on 162 attempts. Mm-hmm. No one on the Cavs shot 162 corner threes last year.
We couldn't even get Isaac Okoro to hit dead spot jumpers, let alone corner threes. We was praying for him to hit a corner three. Now you got a guy that's shooting almost 50% from the corner. Come on, man.
On a extremely high volume. Once again, that was 162 attempts last year. He made 75 of those. That's according to Second Spectrum stats from the corner. Now, as far as what Strus does, he's not just a standstill shooter. If you watched a minute of the NBA Finals, Strus runs around like Klay Thompson.
Yeah.
He had the fourth highest, they track it by miles on Second Spectrum. He ran the fourth most of any player in the second half of the season last year, meaning he doesn't like just to stand still.
Right.
He's a guy that, and this is where, JB, listen up here. This is where a lot of it comes on to you now.
JB,
you have a guy that has a skill set that they didn't have at all last year. Jetty was a stand and shoot guy. Okoro was a stand
and not
scared
shoot.
to shoot
and scared
guy.
to shoot guy. Lamar Stevens scared to shoot. What Max Strus does better than anyone the Cavs have had on their roster in the last couple of years is come off pin downs, come off double screens, and in a pick and roll heavy offense, he may not be getting as many shots, but at least they could occupy the backside of the defense to take some attention away from the pick and roll ball handler, whether it be Mitchell or Garland with Mobley, Allen, Damian Jones, whoever else they have in that pick and roll situation. Last year, and this is all stats according to Second Spectrum, Max Strus took 6 catch-and-shoot threes per game. So no dribbles, catch and shoot, whether that's stand in the corner catch, come off a high screen, a pin down, catch and shoot, shoot. No one of the Cavs took more than 3.5 of those last season. That was Donovan Mitchell. And guess what? On those catch and shoots, which are a much harder shot than just standing in the corner, he shot 38%. It's one of the highest marks in the league on catch and shoots for a guy who is in the top 10 percentile of the NBA on opportunities. This dude's an elite shot maker when it comes to those kind of situations. And yeah, he's not Kevin Durant. He's not Steph Curry. But you weren't getting those guys in free agency. He was as good as you were getting at a position and a skill set they needed available in this free agency class.
You don't need him to be those guys. He's the fourth option offensively. Yeah. He's ahead of Jarrett on offensive options. But it's still Donovan, Darius, and Evan are ahead of Max in terms of priority offensively. So you're 100% right in terms of corner shooting. Guys make a lot of money in this league. If you can just stand in the corner and wait for the ball.
P.J. Tucker in Philadelphia. He's a guy who, I don't know the numbers, I would guarantee you, I bet you 90% of his shots are set in the corner threes, and that's it.
And just
He's not coming off any screens, any pin downs, and that's the kind of thing that Max Strus brings as a shooter that some other guys who are corner specialists don't.
So, this is my thing. I'm trying to figure out in my mind. I was on the radio on Saturday, and so many people were blown away. Nobody seemed to like the moves. Nobody. Oh no, I'm not excited about the moves, or I thought they could have done better, or Strus is only 6'5", and we need a long wing defender. See, sometimes what you have to do is you have to make people spell out names. Stop being general and tell me who you wanted that you thought was in your price range that was legitimately going to come here. Yeah. I'll wait.
And as far as the overpaying goes, wings are gold in the NBA.
Yeah.
Look at any wing who signed this weekend. Did anyone get what we assume would have been market value? Bruce Brown, who people thought might get a mid-level exception deal, signed for $22.5 million with the Pacers.
Fred VanVleet.
Yeah.
Max deal from Houston is bonkers. That's the one deal I looked at and went, wow.
And we're going to talk about all the other free agent deals in a sec, but with Strus and the other guys the Cavs signed, they all got overpaid. Why? Because it's a supply and demand situation. Max Strus can shoot. Is he a great individual defender? No. But he's a solid team defender who comes from the Miami system, and you can't play in Miami if you don't play defense.
Right.
So he's a good team defender, or at least a serviceable team defender. None of the wings out there who were coveted by multiple teams took a market discount. And why would they? And to your point, Jason, as the salary cap continues to rise with this new TV deal, $63 million may seem like a lot now. In 2-3 years, it's going to be a bargain.
I get what people are saying. Like, I really do. I get what, like, I've never understood the whole commentary on how much people are really going out here making. Like, do you know, like, there's people on OnlyFans that are making $55 million.
Good for her.
Look, right? We just naturally assume it's a her, right?
Good for them.
The number one TikTok person in the world is making $21 million. Like, there's video game people. Those guys are making $7-8 million a year. My question is, why do you pick some? By the way, soccer players is making $600, $500 million. Like, why do we pick like basketball players during? Like, to me, is VanVleet worth 100 or something? I don't know. But at the end of the day, I know he's worth it more than somebody who's playing a video game. And we don't say nothing about that. Like, it's just, get used to it. It's part of the game. It's part of what happens. When owners make money, they sign deals, and the players have to make money. So, obviously, it's worth watching because we pay TV deals and ratings are there. So, like, we should not be in disbelief every single I can't believe this guy got that much money. I can't believe half the people that work without work can make that money. Yeah. And that's why they tell you never go to work and tell people how much you make, because you're going to have a line out of the back door to PD's office. He made what? That guy? He's a bum. I don't even know. What does he do? He gets that. Like, that ain't 2 years. That's a year. That's just 365. That's what come on, man. Stop.
Jason, do you have confidence in JB and the Cavs' offensive scheme to find ways to utilize Strus to the maximum visibility?
Go ahead and say no.
You know what's funny? No. This is what's funny. I was thinking about this. Actually, this just occurred to me driving in to do the show today. And I hate comparing the teams in town, but doesn't it feel like the Browns and Cavs are running on parallel tracks of, like, they had all of these free agent needs. The Browns did going into free agency, and you're like, man, they have so many needs. How are they going to fill all these spots? And they did. Like, we think Andrew Berry nailed it and had a great offseason. Okay, Kevin, you've got all the ingredients. Now go make it work. And it feels very similar with the Cavs of like they have the mid-level exception and they have no trade assets. How are they going to find this? And the Cavs walked away feeling like they got the top 2 shooters on the market.
Yeah.
And they did, and they nailed it. Like I put it on Twitter. I said earlier in the show, they had a great weekend. And they got what they needed in terms of shooting. I said it all season long, especially throughout the playoffs.
I had to mute you on Twitter. I muted Jason Lloyd shooting. Just so it
shooting.
shooting.
You got to have shooting. And they went and got the shooting.
Nailed it.
And now it's on JB to make it work. And it just feels like these two teams are running on parallel tracks.
I told you, I came out early. I said, after you gave the gentleman's punt on the seat last season, Cleveland Browns, I told you had 6 games. And they must have, I ain't say nothing. Maybe they felt in their heart of hearts they had 6 games. Kobe heard the vitriol, the venom in people's voice when they was talking about you not going to make no moves. And usually the Cavs kind of trail behind, and we'll talk Cavs a little bit and let it tail off into the summer. No harm, no foul. We'll get into training camp, we'll start. This kind of lingered a little bit this time because now you got a lot of eyeballs on the situation. You got a team with some really good pieces and parts, and now people are looking at you to upgrade to make this thing make sense. I'm with Jason. You went out, we talked about Strus. The fact that they went out and got Niang, who was another guy who we thought, if you thought before you get one or the other, you'd be great. You'd be golden. They go out and get both of them. And so now that puts you in a position where you now have shooting that's in your starting lineup. You now have shooting that's coming off your bench a little bit. And the fact that we already knew that we were going to sign Karis LeVert to come back. But I tell you what, he's done what he needs to do. Yeah. Now JB's going to have to come up. No longer can you say, well, I don't have the pieces and parts. You got shooting. You got him around. You got a point guard. You got a guy that's supposed to be a closer. Evan Mobley is supposed to be your unicorn coming up. And he got you 2 pieces in the draft that I like that could be projects. Yeah. And he got you 2 projects that could be somebody. So, he has everything he needs.
The Browns comparison, I hadn't thought of that, but that's brilliant. They really do seem to be on the same track. And last week, I think it was last Thursday when Earl was producing, he asked us, what's the biggest issue with the Cavs makeup? And we all said it was the roster. Mm-hmm. And we all agree that you can criticize JB. We don't think he was spectacular last year. They had youth, and playoff inexperience does matter, but the construction of the roster was they didn't have shooting, and if you don't have shooting, it doesn't really matter. Well, as what you guys both said is true. They have the shooting now. And now anyone who has said for the last at least 12 months that I've been watching and kind of consuming Cleveland media on a daily basis, JB's not a good coach. It's on JB. Where's the offensive creativity? Where's the offensive plays? All we do is run pick and roll. Well, guess what? We're going to see now if you guys are right or if the Cavs are right for giving JB an extension, because now all the ingredients, all the, I'll say talent, but all the different positions of need, skill, size, shooting, ball handling, defense, they're all there, JB. And now it's on you to make that work. So I've been patient. I think we've all been pretty patient with what we thought about JB. There's no more excuses. It is officially put up or shut up for JB Bickerstaff, and we're going to find out pretty early on, not necessarily like 20 games into the season. I don't think it's as quick as a runway as 6 games for Stefanski here with his track record and some of these other guys, but we're going to find pretty quickly if he's going to adapt to utilize these new guys' talents or if it's going to be rinse and repeat and make these guys fit square pegs into round holes.
And watch this, though, too. People don't want us to mention certain people's names. Y'all told us that Jared Allen, that was just a one-off. Jared is a good player. We understand that Jared had did his thing. He's an all-star in previous years. He had a slip up where he didn't play as physical as he needs to. Give him an opportunity. Hey, I'm watching, Jared. I'm watching. Darius Garland. If you don't want your name in, people thought it was ludicrous to put Darius Garland's name in these trade proposals. Well, here's the thing. Is it outlandish to say that Darius Garland has to step his game up? Is it outlandish to say we need Darius Garland if he is a max player of that ilk? We need him to take another step. We talk about Mobley taking steps all the time. Darius Garland is another guy that can take a step up, and it doesn't have to be scoring. It can be understanding his spots. Yeah. It can be picking his spots better. It can be more of a vocal leader. It can be more toughness, right? And then Evan Mobley, we know what your task is to get better. So my thing is too, JB has to get better, but your best players have to get better. And shall I say Donovan Mitchell? You the best player on the team. You made second team All-NBA. At the end of the day, now you tasked with bringing something different to the court, maybe being a facilitator and not fading in the postseason. So there's a lot of people that got some work to do, and if they get their work done and adding these new pieces, I see the Cavs taking a step.
Yeah, well, in a little bit after we go through all these moves, we'll talk about where the Cavs now kind of fit in the Eastern Conference hierarchy. But we talked Strus. Let's go to the next big signing, which was George Niang from Philadelphia.
The minivan.
True or false? George Niang ranks in the top 15 of all active players in career three-point percentage.
Well, this seems like a trick question, so I'll say true.
I'm going to say true because every time we played them, he would hit a back-breaking three. We down 6. George Niang comes down, and he's wide. Who has him? Whose man is that?
The answer is true. George Niang, the 6'7", 6'8", 230-pound, 3'4", 5" wing from Philadelphia, does rank 15th among active players in career three-point percentage. He's a 40% three-point shooter for his career. Jason, we started with you with Strus. I'll start with you again with Niang. I really like this move. Are you as favorable on this signing as you were with Strus?
Yeah, I do like it a lot because the two together now you can play styles that you couldn't play before. You can pull Jarrett off the floor, you can put Evan at center, and you can surround him with shooters, which is something that they just didn't really have the capability. They couldn't do it. They didn't have the capability of doing that. And once you do that, now you've opened up the floor, you've created driving lanes. Donovan and Darius are only so good if they have nowhere to go. And now they have room to maneuver, operate, collapse the defense, kick to the shooters in the corner, kick to Niang, kick to Strus. If it's Donovan, Darius is out there. So it opens things up. And for that reason, I think they nailed it.
Before you go, G, can I give you two numbers?
Yes, you can.
So we talked about Max Strus on corner threes.
Yeah.
45%, pretty good. According to Second Spectrum stats, Niang shot 52% on corner threes last year.
That's crazy.
That is the epitome of a standstill corner specialist.
Yeah.
Another element he adds to this offense, which they did not have last year, is a pick and pop. Mm-hmm. This is a pick and roll friendly offense, but when you have Jared Allen and Evan Mobley as your rollers or your screeners, they're rolling every time because, as we've talked about time after time after time, neither can really shoot. Well, George Niang adds a new element to the offense by simply being on the court. And last year, G, what do you think he shot from three on pick and pop situations? This number comes courtesy of Second Spectrum Sports.
53.5%.
No, if he did that, he would have got $50 million a year. He shot 42% on pick and pop threes, which ranked among the top 7% in the NBA.
Man.
George Niang doesn't do a lot of the things that Evan Mobley can do. He doesn't bring the defensive intensity that Jared Allen does. But from an offensive perspective and a versatility standpoint, the stuff he brings is night and day different than the current two bigs on the Cavs roster. And it's something it's an element to the offense that this team simply did not have last year. I love the Niang sign.
And something that this may not be perfect. I literally just thought of this. He kind of reminds me a little bit of Channing Frye.
You stole my point. He gonna jump ahead of me and twinkle his fingers. I had it in the tip of my tongue. I was waiting patiently after the two stats for me. Now go ahead, man.
No, but Channing was bigger.
Yeah, Channing was 6'11". Yeah.
And he was really more. But he wasn't great defensively. There was teams where he just couldn't get on the floor. They couldn't play him. But Channing used to tell me all the time, if you let me stand in the corner and get my feet set, you're done.
Yeah.
Like I'll hit it every time. And this has sort of that feel to it of that guy who, in the right situations, in the right matchups, again, you're not asking him to be a starter. He's going to be a guy that comes off the bench. And just you pick the right moments, he's that dead-eye shooter that they haven't had.
See, Jason
doesn't move well, but that's okay.
He understands that you got to talk to these Cavs fans and LeBron talk. Y'all, they don't understand no new wave stuff. The new, if you ain't saying LeBron, they don't get it. There's disconnect. But if you go ahead and give them something to point back to, they understand what that was. Channing Frye got the Toronto Raptors all the way up out of here. Yep. I felt bad for the Raptors at one point because they was doing the Raptors and the Hawks so dirty. It would be Channing Frye, and he hit 7 threes. And then Kevin Love will get hot 5 threes. And then J.R. Smith would not miss for some reason. And then Shumpert, all of a sudden, he wanted to start hitting threes. You already had Kyrie that was a sniper. The Cavs back then had layers and layers. Even they had James Jones coming off the bench at one point in time. They got Mo. They said, let me go get Mo Gotti back. Give me Mo Williams come back to hit a couple threes. They had all these shooters. Now, guess what? Now, Kyrie, he can slash to get to the rim. Now, LeBron, now you can't afford to double team him in certain places. Now, the Cavs, if you slowly but surely look at what they're doing, you get a guy like this who can come off your bench. You now have waves and layers of different pockets that you can get into. You can do small lineups now. Now you got Evan Mobley, and if he's working on his game, the one thing that we do understand is we're not missing nothing defensively on the pick and roll. So don't worry about that. We can switch off on all of that. So we can go small. You can put Evan at the 5. You can have Niang in the game. You can have Strus in the game, the 2 guard. You can put Karis LeVert in it. It's a lot of things you can do now that could combat some of the stuff that you was weak at last year, right? And we could have got the Knicks. If we had these shooters, and I'm just going to say this, if you had these 2 shooters, the Knicks is up out of here. Easy, because you got more spacing, and you would have better looks from Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland. They had 2 dudes looking at him, grabbing him all the way to the rim. It was ridiculous. No spacing.
The most common play in basketball is the pick and roll. And the reason it's the most common play in basketball, it's the staple of most teams' offenses. It's the hardest thing to guard. You're at a disadvantage inherently when a guy screens. His defender has to come over a screen, go under a screen, so it's really 2 on 1.5. Then you have to pick where you help from. And if you have non-shooters in the court, it's easy to choose who to help from. If you have, in a situation, Darius Garland or Donovan Mitchell, doesn't matter, we'll just pick one. Who do you want to use for this?
Garland.
We'll use Garland with the ball in his hands, and we'll use Mobley as the screener. And you're spacing the floor with Donovan Mitchell, 40% three-point shooter. George Niang in the corner, 52% from the corner. And Max Strus in the other corner at 45%. Where are you helping from? You cannot leave one of those guys. It's a pick your poison situation, and that is what we didn't see against the Knicks. The Knicks were able to completely collapse the defense, have 5 players with at least 1 foot in the paint because they weren't scared of Isaac Okoro. Sorry, Jetty. Sorry, Lamar. Sorry, Danny Green. They weren't scared of anyone else in the Cavs roster shooting, so they were able to collapse, and that just clogs the middle, and it makes it's like trying to run against a 10-man box.
And I would say
there's just not lanes. Now that they have weapons, everything spreads out. It makes it easier. There's more assist opportunities for both Garland and Mitchell. And guys, the game of this is stupid, but it's serious. The game of basketball is so much easier when you make shots. And Donovan Mitchell isn't going to have to think when he drives, sees 2 guys collapse. What's a better offensive opportunity for my team? Me taking a tough jump shot or George Niang in the corner? Because last year, the tough jump shot was a better option than kicking it out to Isaac Okoro, Lamar Stevens. With the guys in the corners now, that's the right basketball play. You make the right basketball play, good things happen. And I'm telling you, if everyone stays healthy and JB finds a way to get these guys to mesh and add a little creativity, this has the makings of a top-tier offense in the NBA next season.
I'm going to tell you what.
And I want to see him run. I want to see a little pace, too.
They do need to pick up the pace for as young as they are.
Yeah.
They're like 12 years old. And if Mobley can get to 30%, now it looks different, don't it? Like, he was at 22 or something, 21?
He was 25 as a rookie, 21.8 last year.
Well, listen, here's the thing. The great part about getting these dudes is you just hedge your bet. If Evan can get to 30%, you're like, great. We're even better. But if you don't, you're not banking on Evan Mobley jumping 45 percentage points in terms of what he's going to do as far as being a shooter. I will say this. I don't know about you, and you could ask the chat. I don't know if this makes him more watchable, but I will say at the end of the year, I was not enthused about watching the Cavs run anything back. I did not want to see. I just was tired of seeing, and it's just the thing, the Jetty stuff, the Lamar Stevens, the bench bunch, the Robin Lopez, you was carrying around 4 or 5 players that couldn't contribute to give you anything. I thought that ran its course. At least there's some fresh blood or some new guys in there that I could see some development and they could do some other things. I'm more excited about watching the season now than I was at the end of the year. And I think, that's a big thing. I think that is a thing for some fans. They just was like, I just don't want to see the same squad.
And they can now. If you need to stop at the end of the game, you can put Okoro, Allen, and Mobley out there together. That's okay. You can put your best defensive guys out there. switch offense for defense, call a timeout, get your shooters back out there. So there's still spots where they can body guys up, go big, and really focus in on the defensive end. But they don't have to play that way anymore. It doesn't have to be. I started to pull this apart last night, and I didn't get all the way through it. But we've talked about it before, where I've talked to people around the league who say you don't have to be number one in the league defensively, but you can't. And it's easier to win if you are mediocre defensively with terrific shooting than it is with mediocre shooting and terrific defensively. You've got to have the shooting component. And the last 3 years, the team that was the number one ranked in defensive rating was bounced in the first round. Now the other one was Boston, which went to the NBA Finals. So it's not – obviously defense matters. And defense, actually a top 10 defensive rating matters more than I thought that it would. But you have got to have the shooting component or you're not going to make it very far. And we saw that firsthand. Mm-hmm. So they can still play defensively. They can still play the defensive style, the bully ball style. But now you can also pull Jarrett off the floor and go with shooters, or pull Evan off the floor and go with shooters all around. We've had the Jarrett conversation multiple times. I don't see any reason to trade him now because they were able to fill the needs. We talked about it before. I said it before. I thought it was a knee-jerk reaction based on one playoff series to trade Jarrett. The reason why you have the conversation of do they have to trade Jarrett is in order to fill some of these holes that they had. Well, they were able to fill their needs without moving him. So now I don't see a pressing reason unless it just all goes to hell next year and it doesn't work with playing two non-shooting bigs again. Aside from that, I think now he brings a level of flexibility to be able to play different ways.
Yeah, because now you could go. I like the thought process of going with the defensive lineup. You got other different lineups that you can go with now, like in the playoffs. I thought a guy who was really good at Ty Lue was great at that. Yep. Ty Lue
Ty was a matchup master.
And I like how he did it. And this was Kevin Love, prime Kevin Love. Hey, K, you ain't playing today right now. We can't get you. We going with Tristan Thompson and we're gonna go with Channing. We're gonna go he mixed and matched brilliantly with the different pieces. Now, when you got this team like this, look, I don't think trading Jarrett makes any sense at this point because guess what? You got some shooting. You got better shooters in the starting lineup. You got some guys coming off the bench that can spell them. Now you look at it. If the Cavs are gonna say we're the number one defensive team, did they lose anything that will still make them the number one defensive team?
No.
So
they were the number one defensive team because they tried really hard at defense.
Well, theoretically, they can still hang their hat on. We're the number one defensive team. We didn't give none of those pieces up, and we got better offense.
I'd expect them to still be a top 10 defense next year. I got one stat and then one thing I got to tell you guys about Niang from one of his former coaches. But this is my favorite stat about the Strus and Niang hires. I'm going to read this so I don't get this wrong. From Second Spectrum Sports. Last season, the Cavs made 950 three-pointers as a team. That was 19th in the NBA. If you replace Strus and Niang for Osman and Stevens, they would have finished 5th.
Wow.
Just swapping those two, they go from 19th to 5th. That's 205 additional threes made last season between Strus and Niang and Osman and Stevens. They may not seem like name-wise massive upgrades. Trust me, on the court, these are massive upgrades for what they want to do. One last thing on Niang before we move on to the last two here. Jason's connected in the NBA circles with everybody. I got a couple connections. One of them happens to be with the Sixers, where we just got George Niang from. Eli, who I've told you guys about their video quarter, and George, that's his tightest guy on the team. He texted me as soon as George signed with the Cavs and goes, dude, y'all got a great one. I asked him, I was like, all right, give me a little more than I would know. He's one of the smartest basketball players he's ever worked with. He goes, this dude could run every play in our playbook from every position. Just a nice little tidbit to have.
Yeah.
He is the nicest and most willing to help dude. He's with all the rookies working with them after practice, shooting. I'm hoping the first thing he does when he gets to Cleveland is goes find Evan Mobley and goes, hey, let's get up 500 jump shots.
Yep.
And he goes, listen, the rebounding numbers, they look abysmal. We told him box out, let other people get rebounds. You can't jump, George, so just box your guy out, make sure your guy doesn't get the rebound. So, yeah, the 2.4 rebounds for his career is definitely like, how's a guy who's 6'8", only averaged 2.4 rebounds? His job was not to rebound. His job was box out, don't let your guy get the rebound. We have Joel and other guys to get the rebound. And last but not least, he's not a good individual defender. A very smart team defender. He goes, watch how many charges he takes. He goes, Kevin Love took a lot of charges with Cleveland. George Niang will slide right into that role. He's always in the right place at the right time. That is coming from a guy who coached in the last 2 years, is super tight with George. And I do think not just his skill set on the court, but it seems like the makeup of who he is fits in exactly with what this young core. Because he's played 3 years in college. He's a little bit older than your traditional first contract guy. But I think he's going to be a really, really good addition.
Let me, and I just really quickly, like if you take a look at the Miami Heat's roster, the roster that beat the Denver Nuggets in one of the first 2 games, right, of the NBA Finals. If you take a look and compare it to what the Cavs have today, the Cavs roster is better than the Miami Heat roster. Would you not say?
The Heat are trying to get Dame Lillard right now. So
yes,
let's hold our peace before the finalized products. Today, they have a better roster than the Heat.
Yes, if we're comparing, and obviously if they get Dame Lillard, that's another story.
Changes.
But all I'm saying is there's a lot of parity out there. And there's a lot of teams that feel that they're close. Go out west. Yep. There's a lot of teams that feel like now they're closer. It seems like it's more down to a big 2 and to get your bench together. It feels like nowadays is moving back towards the early 90s where you had to have a couple ball players off the bench.
Yeah.
It's starting to feel that way.
Matters again.
Yeah, it's starting to feel that way a little bit.
All right, we're going to move on to their next 2 signings here. We've talked about Strus. We talked about Niang. They also got Ty Jerome here, who's been a serviceable backup for the last 4 years, was a top guy coming out of college, out of Virginia. And I want to actually let Earl start with this because Earl came in this morning, and Earl said, of all their signings, I think Ty Jerome might actually be one of their biggest, most impactful. I like that one the best. So, Anthony, tap Earl, let him get on the mic. Earl, real quick before we break down the numbers, why are you so high on the Ty Jerome signing for the Cavs?
I think the dude is a pure shooter. I think he's somebody that, to me, being in Golden State with Steve Kerr and just learning from pros like Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, I kind of felt like he got buried on a depth chart that had a lot of shooters on there. But I think this is a sneaky signing to me. I think this is a guy who can come in, immediately be your backup point guard. If he gets all the backup point guard minutes, I'm not mad at all. I do remember the game where he got the start against the Cavs last year and he dropped 22 points, had 8 assists. Very good basketball player. Like you, I thought highly of him coming out of school. I think this is the one signing that is going to get overlooked, but he can have a huge impact right away.
Yeah, this signing to me tells me that the Cavs think Rubio's cooked. I don't know how much they're expecting from him. I know they had money to bring in an extra guard here, but a guy like Ty Jerome, who's 6'5", and a pretty good defensive player, I just don't know how much they still believe in Ricky Rubio as the full-time permanent backup behind Garland and Donovan Mitchell. Jason, did you get that feel with this signing? Or
I don't read it that way. I read it as he's the Neto replacement and an upgrade over Neto. I think Rubio is still – listen, maybe Rubio is cooked, but when they brought him back –
they knew it wasn't going to be last year. I understand that.
Yeah, it was always second year coming back from an ACL. The first year is always rough. It's always year 2 is what you look at. Like, they made that very clear when they brought him back. And I still think that holds. I think they want – Ricky meant so much to this team when he was healthy and when he was right. I think they want him to have the first crack at that. And I look at this as that Neto guy. He's certainly an upgrade over what Neto was.
Yeah.
Neto was that placeholder until Rubio was back and healthy. But I think Ricky has dibs on that spot. And then if he is washed, if it is over, now you've got someone that you can slide into that spot.
Man, listen, I liked him. I liked him at Virginia.
I loved him at Virginia.
I thought he was gonna be. I thought he was gonna be that deal. Coming out of 2019, he was doing his thing at Virginia. Like he got that one-leg step back game. He got the floater. He got the old man wide. He got the floater game. Like there's a lot of different games where he contributed double figures with the Warriors, right? He did hit us for 22. I was upset at that game. I was salty, because you know me. If you talk about Duke and knee jerk, I'm just like over here going crazy. My niggas was going crazy. I was like, who is this guy? Who is this dude? Yo, he can't miss neither. It was disrespectful, but I like the move.
Yeah.
Again, guess what? Guess what he can do? Shoot.
He shot 39% from 3 last year.
Once again, I'm not. Hey, look, I know y'all want athletes. Listen, we got enough athletes for 2 or 3 teams. Now I need guys that can come in, and the most disrespectful thing that can happen to you when you're in the playoffs is if you're a coach and you know you need to make a move, you know what the move is, but you look down the line and say, oh, Lord, I can't play you.
Yeah.
I definitely can't play you.
That's what happened in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Like, everyone who was coming down on JB was like, what would you like him to do? Look who he has to pick
Sam
from.
Merrill.
Yeah.
Save the day, Sam.
Merrill, what's up, Sam? Merrill Lynch, what's up, bro? You got something? Nah. Is this guy gonna come in and is he gonna be
He's not gonna be the savior.
He's gonna be a savior.
Let's be realistic.
But like I said, the way I feel about the game now is changing a lot because you're starting to see a lot less big three mentality. Yeah. The big three mentality where it's like, yo, we're going to find the big three. They're going to do everything. They're going to average all the points, get all the rebounds. We're going to ask them to do all the heavy lifting. And we're going to round out the rest of the roster with a bunch of Boogie Cousins. Like, nah, like that's gone now. You're starting to see the Bruce Browns. You're starting to see the Struses. You're starting to see the guys that are the undervalued guys that can come in and give you 9 points can be the difference between the game, you winning and losing. It's crazy. So now I need my bench to be solidified as much as I can. And if I'm going with slim pickings, I'm going to develop some guys and figure out if I got some guys in that rotation to get ready for playoffs because that's what matters.
Yeah, Jerome didn't play. He's never actually played in a postseason game, which we talk about guys you can look down your bench and play. Well, he's been on a couple of playoff teams and has never played a postseason minute. That's not to disparage him, just keeping the reality of what you're bringing here. He's a backup, potentially third-string backup point guard. Here's what he does do very well. He's a facilitator. He's got a 3.2-to-1 career assist-to-turnover ratio, which is among the best in the league. Now, granted, he doesn't play as much. Those numbers are always going to be a little skewed, but I'd much rather have a guy with a 3.1 coming in off the bench than essentially a 1-to-1. I want my backup point guard to be a floor general, a facilitator. He does that very well. Defensive win shares are a tough metric to really gauge, and I don't even want to explain to you. Just know that anything positive is good, and he had a 2 defensive win share last year. So he's a plus defender at 6'5" on the wing for any situation where they may need a bigger guard to guard someone in the league. And he's only played 48 games, or 48 games is the most he's ever played in the season. He has had some injury histories. He's never played a ton of minutes, but his per 36 numbers, which is just take their career numbers, drag it out in case they played starter minutes. If he was to do that, his per 36 numbers are 14.5 points, 4 rebounds, 6 assists. That's a pretty damn solid backup point guard.
It is.
And if you need him to play more minutes, like we saw in that Cavs game last year, I think he is serviceable. Do I think he's better than Ricky Rubio? I think it's pretty damn close right now after what I saw from Rubio last year. Yep. Maybe Rubio, with a full year back from the ACL, can return to the form he was prior to the injury, because prior to injury, Rubio is better than Ty Jerome. But if you're not 100% confident Rubio's going to get back to that level, having a guy like Ty Jerome to be his backup or potentially his replacement is a really, really good luxury to have.
Plus, you don't necessarily, if Ricky doesn't have it anymore, you have 2 ball-dominant guards on the floor. Like, one of them's going to be on the floor all the time anyway.
Yeah.
So that's one spot where you can kind of fudge or hide. You don't have to have a top-shelf backup type guy, just because Donovan and Darius are always going to have the ball in their hands.
And I do think Jerome could play a little off-ball, too, if need be. Like, he is 6'5". He shot 39% last year, 32% career shooter for his entire career. Like, he's capable of coming off screens and at least being a spacing guy in that pick-and-roll offense. So, an underrated signing, we'll see, but certainly a move that I think helps bolster the depth of this team. Yeah. The last guy they signed was Damian Jones, who has been a journeyman. He feels like he's been in the league forever. He's been on 6 teams in 7 years. He goes back to those Golden State days. They got him from Utah in a trade yesterday. Listen, Robin Lopez is gone. They got nothing from Robin Lopez last year. It's a pick-and-roll offense. He's an athletic 6'11" big, a rim runner, a dunk threat. If nothing else, we can expect 5 to 10 really cool alley-oop highlights from this year. If nothing else, that's what we're going to get from Damian Jones. I don't think he's going to be a huge contributor in any facet, but he's certainly a nice depth piece, and he certainly is a highlight reel waiting to happen in the pick-and-roll game with Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell.
Hey, I just need him to get his sideline celebrations ready, like the hold me back, oh, Lord, hold me back, I'm going in. The slide down the chair, that's what we need to get ready for you, Damian.
Well, at least he'll sit on a chair. Robin Lopez didn't even sit on a chair last year.
He was taking up all the floor space. I'm like, all it's going to take is somebody to trip over Robin and tweak an ankle. He's done, now he's washed. Now he's super. Listen, he was out when y'all was interviewing him during preseason. I was like, he ain't gonna make it, dog. He can't even be. He was like the sloth out there. He throwing them hooks up. I said, man, and your brother, you call you, hey, wrap it up, dog. You done made enough money. You done made enough, Robin. You went to Stanford. You a smart guy. You kind of funny. Just go do something. Hold a camera somewhere, bro. He's up out of here. He's done.
Jason, same feelings. Just a nice guy to have, but
yeah, if you're counting on him to win you games, you're in trouble. Some things have gone terribly wrong. So he's the big at the end of the bench.
Abort mission. Get him out of there. He's gonna get us killed. Abort mission.
yeah, but he played sparingly in Utah last year. Like I said, he's a guy who, in theory, provides a little rim protection. He's 6'11". He's super athletic. He went to Vanderbilt. I believe he was a first-round pick. I think he was the 30th pick in 2017 when the Warriors won all those championships, and he kept getting those opportunities late in games. Bouncy will catch oops. He has no offensive game outside of dunking. They don't need him to have an offensive game outside of dunking, and they needed a big man to replace the Robin Lopez minutes. At the price they acquired him for and the money he makes, there's not a ton of options in that big man role. Correct. For $2-3 million. So I like the move. I mean, it's like I said, it's not going to make a big impact, but he's a guy I like having at the end of the bench as opposed to a big stiff who I don't think ever could really contribute.
So in the midst of the East, right? Like the whole total picture, was there anybody that y'all can, because obviously it takes a little bit to raise somebody above somebody in basketball. Is there anybody that just fell like a couple ladders because they either didn't make a move or lost somebody?
Yes.
Or is there a team that like really substantially came up like, oh, okay.
Do you want to start?
Go ahead.
Well, it's the Sixers first and foremost, and that's because they fired Eli because they brought on a new coaching staff. So
well, no bias at all.
Anyway, Philadelphia. But in all seriousness, you're losing James Harden. I don't know what you're bringing back for James Harden that is the equivalent on the court talent immediately to equal what James Harden is. Daryl Morey has two theories of thinking. He's done this his entire career. Get stars or tear it all down and rebuild. I don't know who's trading a star back to Philadelphia to replace James Harden. And if they're going to go in the path of a quasi rebuild, or at least starting that process, then they definitely take a step back from being the 2 seed in the East going down. Milwaukee re-signed all their guys. They changed their coach. Who knows if that makes them better or worse. Boston switched up Marcus Smart for Kristaps Porzingis. The Knicks got rid of Obi Toppin. I'm not sure they signed anybody, did they? I know they traded Toppin
the Knicks,
to the Pacers. Yeah, I don't think
they got DiVincenzo.
They got DiVincenzo. They got the whole Villanova squad.
Yeah.
Okay.
Reunited. DiVincenzo's a nice move for them.
Yeah, I like that.
Nice added piece.
They still got Hart?
Yeah, Hart optioned in. So now they have Brunson, Hart, and DiVincenzo from that Nova championship team.
Dang.
All playing with the Knicks together.
That's wild.
That's crazy.
Run it back. Hey, won a championship.
Won a championship in
Philadelphia.
college.
You might as well try doing it in New York City now. Let's look at the East as a big picture, though. Do you guys agree with the Sixers as the team that we could pretty confidently say?
I would think they fell down.
If Harden does get traded, like all the reports indicate.
I mean, it's crazy to think that the Sixers at one point in time had Ben Simmons, Jimmy Butler, Tobias Harris, Joel Embiid, all on the same roster, and it looks like the only one that's going to be left is Tobias Harris and Embiid, and he's 30 now. I didn't know he was 30 until McNuggets said it. Like, he's like, oh, Embiid is turning 30. I said, what?
Yeah.
I forgot he missed a couple of calendar years, but I think that, and I'm still trying to figure out, okay, James Harden wanted, I watched all weekend. What reason is James Harden giving for not wanting to, like he asked for a trade? I'm confused as why are you asking for another trade at this point? Because you lost or you don't think you can win or?
I'm pleading the fifth.
I don't understand. Like, I don't get it. And then why would he go back to Houston? What?
I don't think he's going to
going to
wind
Houston
up.
now.
Yeah, he's
They
not
just
going.
signed
Well, he was interested in going back to Houston.
I'm not a Harden fan. I've made clear I would never trust him with my team if I'm a coach or GM or owner. I wouldn't want him anywhere near my team. I'm not a fan of his. I don't care why he wants out. I just think he's not a winning player.
Yeah, he's on his way out of here. I do think I'll be interested to see the Porzingis for Marcus Smart.
I don't know that they're better.
I don't either.
I don't like that move. I know we talked about it before, and the feeling was Smart's kind of lost a step defensively. I don't know that you can trust Porzingis to stay healthy. I don't know that he really makes them significantly better. At most, I think it's an even swap in terms of improving your team talent-wise. Maybe I'm wrong.
And I look at it, they're counting on White to be.
White was really good last year.
He was really good in the
Really good
postseason.
last year.
But if Porzingis is out 30 games, right? I mean, you're missing a lot with Marcus Smart not being there. I mean, you'll look at it. I don't know if they're not much better. I think Milwaukee came back with the same squad. I think that they are. I think that they just
re-signing Brook Lopez was huge for them.
Yeah, because it was touch and go for a little bit because I didn't know they were going to be able to re-sign him. And I will say this is out west. I mean,
we're going to get to the teams in a sec, but real quick on the Cavs, then we're going to touch on the other winners and losers for ages. I know what you're going to say, and I'm going to agree with you. And one team in the West got a lot better. I don't know where the salary cap money's coming from.
I don't know.
We're on the same. We're going to get there. We're gonna get there. With the Cavs, though, and we'll put a bow tie on this, and I know we got a PCC poll question we got to read here in a couple minutes, but if you look at the totality of the East, last year the Cavs were in that second tier. They were the 4 seed. They lost the Knicks, yada, yada. We did the fence rider question. Jason, you and I were the only people who said we thought the Cavs could contend for a top 2 seed next year. Not necessarily win, but contend. With the moves they've made, with the rest of the fluctuation of the Eastern Conference, if they're not contending for a top 2 seed, I'll be really disappointed in this team next year.
People are getting fired.
Yeah, and it's back to what you said with the Browns earlier, and I can't believe I didn't think of this. Bad job out of me. They are on the exact same path, and hopefully it ends well on both occasions. But they're both all in. Chips are all in. Pieces are all in. The ingredients are there. How good's the damn chef, and how good's this meal going to be?
And if you really want to go another degree on that, go back and look at the history of when the Browns and Cavs fire their coaches. It's always at the same time. I mean, Ty Lue and Hugh Jackson got fired within like 24 hours of each other.
Was it really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's freaky. Every year that the Browns fire their coach, the Cavs fire their coach. It happens all the time.
This is beautiful. This is what I like to hear.
Well, no, I don't want to hear it because I don't want either one of them to get fired.
I don't either, but I like maximum pressure. I believe pressure gets the best out of people. I believe so. Look what Kobe Altman did in a short period of time. Kobe Altman, shout out to you.
Yeah.
You must have been, I don't know, because we was telling you, hey, bro, you said a curse word, or you cursing on TV, talk about stand pat. And guess what? You magically got that marker out. Did he go to an Ivy League school or something?
Kobe?
Yeah.
He coached in the Ivy League.
Same difference.
He's affiliated. He's Ivy League affiliation.
You Ivy League brothers, y'all be getting creative
and
math.
Stefanski,
I like
Ivy
your
League.
creative math. There you go.
He's coming together. No, the pressure is on. We hope they win, and Kobe does this for all the times that last week we crapped on the roster and said, "What'd you expect JB to do?" Kobe, kudos to you because you had a masterful weekend.
And Bull, you gotta watch now. Now you gotta watch the regular season games. You out of here. Like you can't even say nothing. You thought you was going. I'm not watching them. I'm not watching them. Bitch, I'm on everybody. I'm not watching them. You're gonna watch.
To his point, this is a postseason team now. It's all about what you do in the postseason. The regular season, it just doesn't matter.
The regular season is for the knee jerkers like me.
The regular season is now preseason, and the regular season is postseason,
There
which
we
means
go.
JB, I want to see some pin downs for Strus. I want to see some pick and pops. I want to see some lineups with one big and Niang as the 4.
And you're going to see
Allen,
that.
And we better. My point is we better.
Yeah.
You better be. I better hear you. You need to be with Coach K. You need to be going to see. You need to be going to see all of the. I don't care if you got to have some triangle action. You just go see somebody who what's his name? The not Tex Winter. Go see Tex Winter or something. I don't know what you're gonna do, but you got to have some screens or something, dog.
Awesome. Well, hey, we appreciate everyone tuning in. We're going to get to the PCC question here in 1 sec. If you guys have not already, hit that like button on the video. Give us them likes. And if you're not a subscriber,
it's free.
What are you waiting for, man? It's free. It helps us out. We really appreciate it. Hit that subscribe button. And then if you are a member, obviously we appreciate you. If you're not a member, there's a couple membership tiers. Check them out. You get a coaches tier for $199, starters tier for $4.99. You get all that overtime content in the starters tier, membership perks, and everything else. We put the banners up. You know you've seen it. Please hit that like button. Please subscribe. We appreciate you all. Anthony, what's going on PCC?
Yeah, so we went out and talked to our community tab, and whenever we talk to our community tab, it's brought to you by PCC Airfoils. Earl. Looking for a job with career advancement and great benefits? PCC Airfoils is a leading manufacturer in Northeast Ohio, and all locations of PCC Airfoils in Eastlake, Menor, Wickliffe, and Minerva are hiring for all positions starting at $18 and up. Plus, get a full benefit package, paid time off, and signing bonus. You can apply online at precast.com/careers to learn more. And so we wanted to know who everybody thought was going to be a bigger impact this season from free agency signing.
Before you say this, I read some of the comments earlier, and for the first time ever, I think we're going to have to rebuke some of the internet comments.
Do you want me to read the comments for you, or do you want to read the comments and I'll read the poll?
Oh, yeah, give us the poll, then I'm going to read some of the comments on it.
So coming in at first, everybody thinks at 75% Max Strus is going to be our most impactful player. Next up is George Niang at 17%. Damian Jones at 6%, and coming in dead last is Ty Jerome for 2%.
I want to read some of the comments here, and then Jason and Gio, I want you guys to respond.
Where are these from?
These from the YouTube community poll, which we just did. We had over 800 votes in the poll, so shout out to the voters. The question was, which new Cavaliers free agent will have the most significant impact this season? Basic question, right? Here's some of the comments we got. I'm more excited to see what Emmanuel Bates will do.
Oh, my God in heaven.
Ready? Next. Ready? No.
Hey, there you go, my man. There you go.
Can I get some vodka in
Hey,
this?
there you go.
Wait.
Yeah.
This is not a basic. This is just ready next. Next answer, none. All are a waste of money. Next,
Okay.
not really feeling any of these moves. I don't
Okay.
feel like the Cavs are any closer to being a top 5 team in the East. They maybe win a game or two more than last year. I still don't see any dogs on the roster. Next comment, none of these players will have an impact. Next player, all bums. Max Strus overpaid, Cavs fell for it. Next comment, none. Next comment, all bums. Next comment, bunch of shooters but no defense. What did y'all expect them to do?
All shooters, no defense. They had plenty of defensive guys. They needed shooters.
What y'all want? Like LeBron James coming back in free agency?
I want some vodka or bourbon in this thing because I can't take it. I can't take it.
Listen, and we love you guys and we appreciate you participating. And Earl, I'll let you chime in here in a sec. But who did you want them to sign that you would have been like, that's a good sign and they'll have an impact? Who? Within the financial restrictions they had, who could they have? Fred VanVleet wasn't coming here. They didn't have $130 million. Like who? Who? Answer me that. Who?
Listen.
Kuzma got $102 million.
They say, G. Bush, bro, you being too hard on the Cavs. Stop being so hard on them. Don't be. And then when we put polls up like this, y'all be dropping the ball. Listen, I've consistently said, you're not getting free agents to come here like that. Second of all, you don't have that much money to be spending. You don't have it. Third of all, even if you did have the bread, you would still need to trade certain players to get a certain type player back. Y'all don't like us mentioning none of these players' names. You love Jared Allen. You love Darius Garland. You love Donovan Mitchell. You're not trading them. So my thing is, what imaginary world of players did you thought was coming here when you knew what the ingredients was looking like? You can't make it up. You can't just say we should go get this person and knowing good and well that person don't want to play here or ever is not going to sign here or you don't have the money or you don't have access. What are you talking about?
Two things. One, you mentioned it early on in the show, and I probably should have made a bigger deal about it, but for them to target a free agent and say that's the guy we want and get him is very rare in Cleveland. It's very rare. And it happened. I mean, I talked at the start about the big contracts, and Larry Hughes came to play with LeBron,
Right.
and that was a disaster, but whatever. Lauri Markkanen, that was a late August move, because his restricted free agency had played out, and he wasn't getting the money he wanted from anyone else, and so the Cavs got something done. They brought him here. This was a day 1, day 2 free agent signing. It was the number 1 guy on their board, and they went out and they got him, and he said yes to come to Cleveland. That's significant.
That's
a big deal.
That's really big.
And number 2, to be able to add him and get Niang and stay under the tax. We've talked before about they want to stay out of the tax, and they're right up against it now. They will be a tax. If you're going to go into the tax, you don't go into the tax for $1 million. Like, if you're going to do it, then do it.
Yeah.
And so they're going to have to take away to add, because they want to stay out of that tax for 1 more year. Next year, they probably become a tax-paying team, and that's when you press go on contract clocks and everything else, and that's when repeat offender comes into play and all that stuff. That's for down the road. So I would think that they're about done with the moves just because of where the tax line is and where they are.
If you look at the roster and you just take all the stuff out of there, look at the roster pound for pound, you now have good defensive players. Evan Mobley almost won Defensive Player of the Year. Jared Allen is an elite defender. You have an elite scorer in Donovan Mitchell, who's made second team All-NBA. You have a all-star guard in Darius Garland who's already locked up, who looks like he take another step and be awesome. And you have a guy, Karis LeVert, who's a six man that could get 50 off the bench. You went and added 2 more shooters to that, right? And you went and got people say Monty Bates and they throw their head, but you even got upside in the second round with some guys or that has some upside that could turn out to be something if they develop. At the end of the day, you look at this roster from top to bottom, and you look at the Eastern Conference. Their roster competes with Philadelphia. The roster, especially what Philly got going on now, the roster competes with the Atlantas they just lost Collins. The roster competes with teams like Boston who has to mix in guys like Porzingis. Like, the roster is there. Like, you could be mad or upset, but I don't know what you could be mad or upset about with the moves they made since they took an L. They've addressed a lot of stuff.
I just don't know who. If you don't like these two, I don't know who else you wanted them to sign. We mentioned Niang like the day after the season ended as one of the guys I thought was a realistic candidate for the mid-level exception. They got him, and then they got another guy who got more than the mid-level exception. Like, I just think that's a home run for what their financial constraints were. And the 3 things, I go back, we'll move on to the rest of the NBA winners. Last week, the question we asked on the show was, what was the Cavs' biggest issue last year? Coaching, roster, or youth? Well, they addressed the roster. They added 2 guys who have a combined 99 playoff games. You realize George Niang's played in more playoff games than Donovan Mitchell, right?
That's crazy.
He's played in more playoff games than Donovan Mitchell, and Max Strus has 43 career playoff games. They brought in, 89. Yeah, 89, not 99, excuse me. 89 combined playoff games. They addressed the youth. They addressed the roster. Now it's going to come down, can JB coach these guys up?
2 guys that were in the finals and the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you want? Like, that's experience.
And Ty Jerome didn't play in the playoffs.
But he was on a playoff roster. So, I mean, we'll take all that.
All right, let's talk about some other moves throughout the NBA. Some guys got paid. Anthony, real quick, though, it's 12 o'clock. You know what that means.
Yeah, I got to remind you guys that you can see all your favorite golf legends play in the Colleagues Company Championship July 12th through July 16th at the famous Firestone Country Club. Fun, family-friendly events all week long featuring a new fan zone experience, free attendance for kids, and concerts every single night. There's something for everyone. You can learn more at colleaguegolf.com.
So let's start with a simple question, yes or no. We just spent an hour on the Cavs. You considering the Cavs a winner in free agency?
Yeah,
real quick.
for sure.
Of course.
Okay, so when we talk about the winners and losers, the Cavs are in the winners column. We're going to focus on some other teams around the league because we just spent 62 minutes talking about the Cavs. Cavs, big winners. G, you mentioned, and I'm going to guess what team you mentioned earlier. And Jason, please explain to me how they were able to make these moves. But are you talking about the one Los Angeles Lakers?
The Los Angeles Lakers just got the LeBron James stimulus package. like they got a package. I know the Supreme Court just struck down a bunch of stuff, but they also secretly signed the fact that they got double the money everybody else does. How are you? I was just like, so they got Hachimura. They still kept Vanderbilt.
So I was wrong last week. Vanderbilt wasn't a free agent. He was under contract. So he was I said that wrong last week. My bad.
Reeves?
But they re-signed Reeves. They got Gabe Vincent, Hachimura. They re-signed D'Angelo Russell. They signed Taurean Prince. They signed Jackson Hayes, and they signed Cam Reddish. And somehow they're not a gazillion dollars over the salary.
I was like, maybe we could get Cam Reddish. And then I'm like, Cam Reddish went to L.A. I'm thinking it's the Clippers. No.
Yeah.
And then Jackson Hayes went for like Minimowski bucks.
Yep.
They got him for a sports bra and some Cracker Jacks. That's crazy. Free money. And I'm like, Jackson Hayes is an athletic big. He just was a first-round pick a couple years ago. Lottery. And I'm like, wow, this dude, like, that's a really athletic. They got a nice roster. I don't understand how. How they do that, bro? How?
Witchcraft. Sorcery. You know what? Rob Pelinka, I think, had a really good trade deadline, and they've had a really good summer because I didn't like a lot of the moves that they made necessarily before that, but I don't know if he's sort of figuring out and getting his footing a little bit more in the role that he's in. And it's funny because so many LeBron teams were top-heavy, star-laden rosters, right, throughout Miami, here in Cleveland. Star. I had people tell me with the Cavs, he's a talent whore. LeBron's a talent whore. If he just wants the top talent available. And this doesn't feel like, I mean, they got AD and LeBron, obviously, but beyond that, it doesn't feel like a top-heavy, star-driven roster. It feels like there's more depth and a lot of really good pieces on this team.
It's well-balanced. And, like, Austin Reeves, they were talking.
He's great.
He only got $56 million, and I'm surprised
I
the
thought
team
he'd get
didn't
more.
give him the poison pill and make the Lakers sign him to that max
Yeah.
up to, I think it was $92 million was what it could have been. Taurean Prince just feels like a playoff guy,
Yeah.
3-and-D guy, who got bought out of Minnesota because they didn't want to pay the luxury tax. We see the new CBA coming into effect. Gabe Vincent was phenomenal in the NBA Finals.
Yeah,
And
like
now he just lands in LA for 3 years, 30, I think it's 33 or 31 million, whatever it is. It seems like they hit a home run. I hate to cross sports references, but it feels like they knocked it out of the park
Yeah.
in free agency, as did the Suns. Now, we laughed at the Bradley Beal trade, and hey, the salary cap doesn't matter. Matt Ishbia, their owner, F it, money's not real. But
It will become real.
it will become real, but the reason you kind of make that trade to get assets is because players wanted to play with LeBron. They got a bunch of guys on minimum contracts who would have made more money, who just want a chance to win a ring in Phoenix, who came. They just got Eric Gordon, which is a phenomenal. He signed a $2 million deal in Phoenix. He wasn't getting $2 million to go in. That dude's a $10 million player.
Yeah.
They also signed Yuta Watanabe, who's a 3-and-D guy who shot 40% from three with the Nets last year. Bates Diop, I think he went to Ohio State, didn't he?
Yep.
Eubanks, I mean, they found a way to fill out their roster in a way I didn't think they'd be able to. I thought they had a really good free agency period, too.
The West had a down year last year, and I still think the East is far superior. The East is way stronger and much deeper. But when you look at Denver, Phoenix, and LA now at the top, am I missing anyone? Those would be my top three teams, right? Am I missing?
Unless you want to put Golden State in there based off reputation, but I don't think they're in the
I don't
same
think that they're in
category.
that category anymore.
Either, yeah.
I think it's those three, and then, I mean, maybe Golden State fourth. Obviously, the Chris Paul move is interesting for them, but I think those are the top three teams now in the West.
Yeah, listen, I'm gonna tell you who else took a terrible L.
Wait, you got any more? I got one more winner.
You got
before we go to
you
winners.
want another winner?
Yeah, give me a winner, because I got one more winner.
I like what what's the name did. I just lost my mind.
I can't help you on that.
Who's your winner?
Listen,
I like the Pacers. I know they overpaid for Bruce Brown a little bit,
I forgot
but
who I had.
Bruce Brown's the kind of guy that fits in any team. And him with Halliburton, they got Obi Toppin for essentially nothing.
Yeah.
2 second-round picks. They traded for Chris Duarte, who I really liked coming out of college, a guy in Oregon who was a high-volume, high-efficiency scorer who kind of fits into this rotation. Now, I think they had a really good offseason, and they had to extend Halliburton. Rookie max got a lot of money. But these maxes, you see 260, yeah. Is he worth 260 right now? No, but as these TV contracts and max extensions continue to go up, the next year's extensions are going to be more than this year's. And it's just how the process works. He's a really good player. You add him with Bruce Brown now, who's a perfect fit as that complementary off-ball guard, small wing, can play a little point, can play off. I really like their offseason, too. I put them in the winner category.
Hey, listen, I will say this. I forgot about this. I thought these are semi-winners.
Okay.
I thought Dallas did okay.
Yep.
Because
They kept the band
if
together.
if you lose Kyrie Irving, it's a wrap. I think if they would have lost Kyrie Irving for nothing and came out there with Luka, I think Luka is definitely leaving Dallas.
Oh, 100%.
I think that, and this is another one that I think in a weird way is a win. People got the Portland Trail Blazers as losers for getting rid of Dame. At the end of the day, I think that's a win.
Well, they haven't gotten rid of him yet.
Well, hold on. They're losers because they signed Jeremy Grant to a $160 million contract.
I don't know why they
to
did
keep
that.
Dame. Well, they did it to keep Dame happy, and the next day Dame comes back and says, "Yeah, I want to go." So now you're stuck with the worst contract in basketball.
And now,
so for that reason, they're a loser. I don't
But
care what you say.
here's the thing. Now I think they're a winner because they got 7-8 teams not interested. This was supposed to be clean and done in a hurry. Like if you're the Miami Heat, you saw it. You like this was supposed to be done 24 hours ago. Now you got teams like the Clippers that's in it. You got teams like the Celtics that's showing up. You got a bunch of teams that are like, whoa. If I know you want to do right by Dame, but if you want this massive haul that we can give you, it's going to be tough to turn that down.
Do you have any issue with the Blazers GM coming out saying, "Hey, I know Dame wants to go to Miami, but that's not the best package we get back. We're going to go and get the best package we can find"?
You have to do what's in the best interest of your organization. So no, it's tough when a guy has given you as much as Dame has. It always sort of ends ugly, in situations like this. We saw it with Kevin here in Cleveland. Sometimes it just ends ugly. But if you're the GM, you're fighting for your job, and you got to do what's in the best interest of the organization. And Miami just doesn't have the assets. I think they can get more for Dame elsewhere.
I have no issue with it. As you said, the GM has a job to do.
Yeah.
And Dame, top 75 player all time. He was named to the list 2 years ago. One of, if not the best player in Portland history. took them to a Western Conference Finals. They never got past the Western Conference Finals, but led them to some serious playoff success. If a team out there that's not on his list is willing to offer twice as much what Miami's paying, you go get the bag.
Yeah,
we can't be mad at any player. We can't be mad at Bruce Brown saying, well, you just won in Denver, but they can only offer you $10 million and Indiana's going to offer you $22.5. Go get your bag. It's the same thing from the GM perspective. He has no necessary loyalty to Dame Lillard to trade him to Miami for a lesser package when he has to be the one who's staying in Portland trying to rebuild it afterwards.
You have to explain to ownership why you're making this deal and why you're taking less from Miami than you could get elsewhere.
And I like the guy don't really work out too much. Like, that don't work out the sweetest position. That ain't it. Like, I get that he want to go to Miami, but the reality is that's why I got them as winners. In the NBA, it seemed like almost you don't know what the market value is until you put them out there really. And then you get people coming out the woodworks like, oh, well, listen, we got something for you if you want to look.
Woj came on ESPN, I think 2 nights ago, and said something fat. I hadn't thought of it like this. With the new CBA, he didn't call it the player empowerment movement. He called it the race to sign an extension, get the bag, and then you could figure out wherever you're going.
I just had a conversation this morning about this. Go ahead.
Is anything you can share about
it?
Yeah,
but go ahead. Finish your thought.
Well, it's just fascinating now that teams are stuck. And the Celtics haven't signed Jaylen Brown to an extension yet. Jaylen Brown has a chance to be the highest paid player in the NBA when he signs his extension. He has yet to sign this extension yet. And it's a little curious that now Bane, LaMelo Ball, Tyrese Halliburton, Sabonis have all signed their extensions, but Jaylen Brown hasn't. And I'm not quite sure what to make of that, but it seems like in today's situation in the NBA where players can say, I want to be traded with 4 years left on my contract, all they want to do is sign that max deal.
Because they know it's guaranteed.
Because they know they can get to wherever they want to go after that. They just have to get their signature on the paper and the ink to dry, and then they'll figure out everything after.
We saw with Donovan.
Yeah.
In Utah, signed the deal. What was it, a year later he was moved? And we're seeing it more and more. And I just had a conversation today about this, about how the new free agency is trades. And you better be right on the guys that you go and get. And obviously the Cavs went all in on Donovan. But max cap space, John Hollinger wrote a terrific piece, I thought, on The Athletic over the weekend that really kind of pulled the curtain back on max space isn't worth what it used to be. And you can go back just a few years ago when they had like 7 All-Stars change teams through free agency, Kawhi and Kevin Durant and all these guys. It wasn't that long ago. But Detroit had max space, and they got Joe Harris for it and a second-round pick. Like max, so Houston spent it on Fred VanVleet. So you're not getting the superstar level player that you were just a couple of years ago. You're going to have to go the trade route now because the money is so big for these guys to sign the deals, the Halliburtons, to sign the deals with their current teams. It's so much financial incentive to do that, and then a year later ask out, and that's going to be the new free agency. But you get one shot at it, much like with free agent contracts. Like usually you get, every once in a while you can get 2 max slots, but for the most part you get one shot at it. Well, with trades, you got one shot at it, and the Cavs identified Donovan as that guy, and they gave their whole future drafts to Utah. And you're going to see that more and more. Somebody's going to do it with Dame now, more than likely. It could be that way with Giannis coming up in a couple of years. I keep hearing, like, this is coming.
Luka's in the same boat, too,
Luka, yeah. So these guys are going to sign these mega deals, but then a year or two later, they're on the move.
It's just a weird dynamic and change from how it's been in the past. And I don't know if this situation helps teams more, if it helps players more, but if you think that any superstar is going to spend just because he signs an extension, that means we got Halliburton for 6 years in Indiana now, where Desmond Bane is a lock to be a Grizzly, and those are just 2 examples of it.
It's good for small market teams, I think. Number one, it's like you get an extra year or 2 with these guys, whatever it is. But then you're also recouping assets for them that you normally wouldn't be able to get. Like
that's a good point.
When LeBron leaves in 2010, the Cavs manufacture a sign and trade, but they didn't really get a whole lot for him. A lot of times, if your marquee player leaves in free agency, you're not getting anything for him. Mm-hmm. At least now you're getting assets back for them. So but then, like I said, you get one shot at it because it takes so many assets to get these guys. Look at what Phoenix gave up to get Kevin Durant. You get one crack at it, and you better be right on the guy that you pick.
And on the flip side, having max cap space means nothing anymore.
Right.
The Rockets had max cap space.
And what did
they
they
signed Fred VanVleet, and they gave Dylan Brooks $80 million. $80 mil for Dylan Brooks, a guy who we said we talked about. I don't think anyone actually. Well, no, you kind of wanted him here, didn't you?
I'll take him.
But for $20 million a year, I think that is a gross
crazy.
overpay. But guess what? Because the new CBA, they had to spend that money, and they gave Fred VanVleet more money than Kyrie Irving.
It's
the
all
same amount of years.
People,
Think about it like that.
People will always game the system. If you set a goal and you say if you want this amount, you got to hit X, A, B, or C. There'll be people that'll hit that. If you change the mark the next year, they'll figure out a way to hit that goal. Like, people will maneuver and find a way to, like, squeeze their way out. And then, like you said, people are leaving now. They just need to get that money. As long as, like I thought it was fascinating that James Harden was smart. He kind of, Daryl Morey was like, hey, we'll get you out of here. And James Harden is smart enough to understand that, like, Daryl Morey have you sitting around here chilling. He's like, well, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to opt in because I'm not going to see all the money dry up out there in the open ocean. I'm going to sign for this 35. Give me that 35. I guarantee at worst get the 35. And you figure out what you want to do with me however long it takes to get there.
Yeah, I'm just going to plead the fifth on that situation. I have nothing good to say about James Harden. Let's talk a little Guardians now, Anthony, as we pivot. Do we have a read first, or should we just get right into it?
Yeah, before you guys get to Guardians, I want to remind everybody that you can see your favorite golf legends play in the Colleagues Companies Championship July 12th through July 16th at the famous Firestone Country Club. Fun, family-friendly events all week long featuring a new fan zone experience, free attendance for kids, and concerts every single night. There's something for everyone. You can learn more at colleaguegolf.com.
I'll be down there next Tuesday. Earl and Jay will be down there next Wednesday. So make sure y'all, if you guys are around, come say what's up. Come hang out with us. We'll be down there for the show. Let's talk a little Guardians, guys. They are still one game under 500. They are tied for first place in the AL Central. They just took 2 of 3 from the Chicago Cubs in one of the, I'll say, ugly, weird, confusing wins we've seen in a long time. They were up 6-2. They're up 6-0. Then 6-2 in the 9th. Clase, hours after being named an All-Star, has a unique way of blowing the save, a couple infield singles. Josh Naylor plays the role of the can't make a play at first base to playing the hero. And they start a big series with the Braves tonight. But let's start last night in the game. G, were you surprised at the Guardians' resilience? I mean, I know they blew the lead, but they came right back in the next inning and took the win.
I mean, the Cubs aren't very good.
No, they're not.
First of all, this was not the 2016 Indians versus the Cubs move. I will say this. I was surprised that, they showed a little resilience coming back. But here's the thing that gets me, and I looked at. That has to scare you. If you're looking at Naylor at first base, oh, my man, boy. Listen, these are routine plays. I have not seen somebody boot balls like that back to back. Like I'm looking at it like, dang, bro, they in his head now at this point. Especially when they started the floodgates came back. Obviously, he did get some redemption by coming up with basically the game-winning hit. His stick is there. But if you go into the postseason and if you're moving around, you can't have too much faith in him at first base. As a matter of fact, it sucks because I would prefer to have him as the DH. But then that means I have to play Bell at first base, and I'm not getting much better at glove work over there with him. And his stick is where. So
up is what.
Yeah, it's just that's a conundrum in itself. But when I look at the Guardians, once again, it's gonna be like this the rest of the year. I think people that's waiting for them to jump off to this 10, 12, lead or no, it's not gonna happen. Like when you can't consistently get enough runs, you get good pitching performances, you can't get runs, then the pitching performance is down, you can't come back. I think this is who the Guardians are this year. They're just a team that's inconsistent, and they'll make it to the postseason. I don't know how far they'll go, past the first round, but yeah, they're not a contender at this point.
My first thought really had nothing to do with Naylor. Guys make errors. We know he's not a Gold Glove defender, whatever. The All-Star break can't come soon enough for Emmanuel Clase, and I'm a little concerned about his workload. Leads the league, tied for the league lead in appearances. I hope they don't use him. I hope he doesn't pitch, frankly, in the All-Star game. I hope that they just shut him down. Go, enjoy yourself, have a great time, take part in the festivities. Don't pitch, man. Like, just take the days off, rest your arm, but it's because they're involved in so many one-run games.
Well, can I ask you a question, though? Last night wasn't even a save opportunity.
Nope.
Yeah.
He put him in, and I know he like Tito has always said, I like to give my closer work.
Yeah.
We're going to a big series. I don't want him to be rusty, but he's pitched so much this season.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
It's fair to question that.
Yeah.
It's fair to question it. 41 appearances. Like, what's that put him on pace for? Like
85,
Yeah,
86.
it's crazy how many games he's been in. So I just worry about workload, and I hope, like I said, I hope when we get the All-Star break, he needs the rest. I hope he doesn't pitch.
I like the resiliency from the team because and we were on the show last Thursday, when they lost the game after Jose stole home, and then Clase. Did Clase vote in the 10th? Yeah, because Stefan blew it earlier. So they came back. Jose steals home, and you think, hey, this is a moment. This is the turning point.
Yep.
And then they blow it, and it's deflating. So last night to have a situation where, Clase walks the first batter. He gives up 2 real singles and 2 infield singles. That's how they scored their 4 runs, essentially. It wasn't like he was no extra base hits. He didn't give up a 3-run home run. It was 2 hard hit singles, but it wasn't like he got absolutely mashed.
Right.
And that's just deflating. You know what I mean? It's like little paper cuts. Mm-hmm. But then to come back and immediately after have a guy like Josh Naylor, who I saw he's up to 310 now, which is shocking to me. Like, he's been good
terrific.
offensively. He's been the best offensive first baseman in the American League this year, hands down, bar none. I don't care what any of the advanced metrics say. No one's been better with the stick in his hand than Josh Naylor offensively this year. So to see him come back and immediately, not in the 13th, not the 14th, hey, next at bat, let's pick up Clase. I love to see that from this team, but I've learned my lesson the hard way that I am not getting all in on the Guardians bandwagon until this team is 5, 6, 7, 8 games over 500. Because as soon as we do, they're going to go out. They're playing the Braves the next 3 games. Braves are red hot.
Yep.
And hopefully it goes well. I'm taking the production team out there on Wednesday for a little show of appreciation. But so please win on Wednesday, Guardians. Come on, Cal. We need you.
Man, tell me what these tickets look like, too. I want to see what your seats looking like, too.
Look, my Hedges jersey is good luck. We'll win. It's fine.
Also, Gavin Williams pitching against the Braves tonight.
That's fun.
Big start. His first 2 starts came against Oakland.
Now he's in the
Kansas City.
majors. Now he's in the majors.
And this is the majors on Legendary.
Yeah.
This is probably the best lineup in baseball.
He went from AAA to 4A. Now he's in the majors tonight.
I am excited to see how he performs. The Braves, I don't know if you guys saw the stat, and now we're in July, but in June, at least on the 29th, I'm not sure it finished this way, the Braves had more home runs in the month than the Guardians had all season, and they had just finished the month with a team batting average over 360 home runs in a month.
Our buddy Tom Hamilton was talking about that on the broadcast
60
yesterday,
what?
I think
60
it was.
home runs in the month.
cheap.
But they
Yeah.
had 59 going to the last day, so I don't know if they hit, don't quote me on that.
Shut up.
But yeah, they had one of the best offensive months in the history of baseball.
Crazy.
And now we're going to see if Gavin Williams, the Guardians' top pitching prospect, can shut him down. And he looked
I love it.
phenomenal in his last start.
I love it. I
Yeah.
want to see it. I want to see him against the top
It's
teams.
I think tonight's game might be the first appointment television Guardians game we've had in a long time,
Yeah.
at least this season.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think.
Outside of a guy's debut. I mean, when Bobby debuted,
Sure.
but
Williams
like actually
debuted.
like just a regular
A good game.
This is appointment television.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. There hasn't been no like crazy over the top. No. You're right. It might be.
And what do you think? How do you think he fares?
I don't think he's going to strike out 12. I don't think he's going to get destroyed. 5, 6 innings, 3, 4 runs.
They would take that in a heartbeat.
Yeah,
that
sure.
puts him in the game.
Yeah.
And who's pitching again for the Braves? I looked this up earlier.
I don't know. I didn't look at the matchup.
Today's matchup is Gavin Williams against Bryce Elder, who's 6-1 with a 2.4 ERA this year, 96 innings pitched.
Dang.
Braves are loaded. They're loaded. Should be one of the World Series contenders this year.
They're
So you're telling
56
me-
and 27.
Mike, are you taking us to a loss? Is that what you're telling me?
I trust my guy Cal Quantrill,
There's people out there that are still salty. The Guardians had to change their names. Braves was like, nope,
So-
we good.
So Matt Olson
We gonna
leads
keep that.
the National League in home runs with 28. How many of the Guardians have a team this year? 59 now, 60.
I thought they were.
They break 60.
I don't
Give me
think
one
they
second.
broke 60.
He's got 15 more than Jose, who leads the Guardians. Put it that way.
I thought they were like low 50s, high 40s, low 50s, but maybe I'm wrong on that.
They have 55.
55.
Okay.
Yeah. So he's got 28. So he has half of the Guardians team total by himself.
That's the guy that they were in on last year. before last season.
No, Sean Murphy. They were on Matt Olson, too.
Yeah, they were. They were in on Matt Olson
And then Sean Murphy.
prior to last season.
Also, Ronald Acuna. Have you guys seen his stats this year?
Yeah, but I haven't seen him lately, but they're bonkers.
He's batting .336 with 21 home runs and 54 RBIs and a 1.08 OPS. Yeah.
That's pretty good at baseball.
Yeah, Earl, that's who you really wanted to see, right? Acuna, that's your guy?
Yeah, that's my boy. That's one of my favorite players.
Yeah, we're going to see him. Hopefully he doesn't do anything against the Guardians on Wednesday. Or this whole series, honestly. But it's going to be a dogfight. And Gavin Williams, if we get 70% of what he pitched against, was it Kansas City the second start, right? Yeah, Oakland was the first, Kansas City the second. Mm-hmm. And he was dominant against Kansas City. If we get 70% of that, the Guardians have a chance to win tonight. I think that's all you can ask for going up against the game against an opponent such as Atlanta.
Honestly, I just want one.
One
Just
win?
one out of the three.
One win, you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a good.
Just don't get swept.
Yeah.
At what point the expectations is so below par?
Well, it's not that.
I mean,
it's not
The
that.
Braves might be the best team in baseball.
Yeah. I just don't. You don't want to get swept at home. Like, just come out and get one. You've got
Tonight's
some momentum.
game sold out, by the way.
They've been terrific with attendance. Like the Guardians are. I keep meaning to do a piece on that. And
Do you know how much standing room only tickets cost tonight? I looked. I wanted to go. For the standing room in the outfield, $70.
wow,
$70.
that's pretty good. That's really
phenomenal.
good for
It's
them.
like good for the Guardians, yeah.
But I mean, dang, bro, that's
They're usually
decent.
15 for comparison's sake.
I mean, can you imagine at any point in the next, I want to say, 3 years where you could say the Guardians are loaded?
Yeah.
In the next 3 years?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Loaded, man. I haven't heard loaded in the Guardians in a long time. I heard competitive. I heard good.
But they have. We talk about this all the time, but they have all the young guys. It's which of the young guys are going to step up and actually prove they're the future in the infield as opposed to the other guys who are going to naturally get washed out. Then you look at the guys in the outfield like Chase. Is it Chase DeLauder? Did I pronounce that right?
Yeah.
Like he's with the Lake County Captains now. He's actually hit really well his first couple of games.
Yeah.
Over in Lake County. They have guys in the pipeline they're excited about. It's just a matter of when those guys get to the MLB level, will they perform?
That's why it's hard to say loaded. Like that means.
Well, you said, could you see a scenario?
Yeah,
where
I mean that's why it's hard. Like loaded in baseball means, we got established dudes everywhere.
Tampa Bay's loaded. They're loaded, and they've had some injury concerns, and they've taken a half a step back, but they're still loaded. The Guardians.
The Braves are loaded.
The Braves are loaded. The Braves are a different level of loaded.
You see, that's the loaded I'm asking about.
But no, but
I
I'm
want
just
that
saying,
loaded.
a small market team with very little payroll is
Exactly.
one of the best teams in baseball. Like it can be done. It's hard to sustain it with that same group. The Braves have the financial capacity to keep that team together.
I don't understand
year
how.
year over year over year. But Tampa does not. Like Tampa, you're constantly churning and constantly churning and constantly churning, and that's what Cleveland would be. But they have enough young talent here that give me two bats. I want two corner outfield bats. Pick one of the three dudes you got out there now. That's your center fielder, and give me two bats. And this lineup's going to look a lot different.
You talk about being loaded. And I'm just using the Braves as an example to get to the loaded that you want to. I know we have Greg Pruitt, so we'll get to Greg in 2 seconds. But here's their lineup from a game last month against the Mets. Lead off with Ronald Acuna. And you have Matt Olson, who leads. Acuna, who's batting .336.
That's how much baseball's changed.
Yeah, you already cheating right now.
Matt Olson, who leads the league with 28 home runs. Then you have leads the National League. Shohei Ohtani leads the American League. Then you have Austin Riley, who is one of, if not the best third baseman in baseball. Travis d'Arnaud, one of the best catchers in all of baseball. Eddie Rosario, who I'm not quite familiar with.
He was here.
He was Eddie Rosario. Then you have Albies. Is it Oscar Albies? Ozzy Albies.
Yeah,
Good
Ozzy.
player.
And it's Darnold is the catcher.
Darnold, Orlando Arcia is the shortstop, and Michael Harris, last year's Rookie of the Year in center field. That's a squad.
But
there's no easy outs in that lineup.
You should have said stop. Listen, if I know the first four people in your lineup, that means you're good. That is how you know.
That's the G. Bush
That is
marker.
If I know the first four people in your lineup and you are not a Guardian or a AA Lake County captain or whatever, that means you're loaded. Your squad is over the top.
So the game sold out tonight, so you cannot get to Progressive Field. But the next two games, go check them out. The UCSS squad will be there on Wednesday if you come see us.
Sold out.
Come say what's up. Tonight's game is sold out.
sure.
That's why standing only tickets are $70.
Hey, shout out to the marketing. Listen, all the front, listen, the VPs, all the ticket people.
They got very creative with their ticketing this year. And,
Yes,
and
sir.
It's paying off.
Yeah.
And real quick, before we get to Greg, to go back to the NBA conversation, Anthony Edwards, 5-year, $260 million max deal.
Just happened?
Just happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, so another one of those doesn't mean he's going to be there that whole time, but the money is so big right now, you can't say no to it.
Anthony Edwards, future absolute superstar.
He's a dude.
Absolute superstar.
He's a dude.
Speaking of dudes, speaking of superstars, it is time to welcome on Greg Pruitt, former Browns running back, to the show. Greg, how you doing? Thanks for joining us today.
I'm doing all right. What happened to all that money when I was playing?
Greg,
Yeah,
we had a Brad Sellers is in our text chain. I don't know if you know Brad at all. Obviously played in the NBA for a long time, and he was kind of saying the same thing of he's happy that, of course he's disappointed. He still has to work today, and that money wasn't there when he played like it is today. But he's thrilled for the younger generation that these guys are sort of reaping the rewards of the work that you did and that Brad did, and sort of paving the way for these guys.
Well, it's a rough sport, and when you get my age, you realize how rough it is. You start to pay for it. So, but it's worth the risk. I got 6 grandsons, and we're at that crossroad. I got one that's 16, about to go into college, about playing football and the safest of football. But I have to say that they are making efforts to try to control the game as much as they can, in terms of, being more physical than you need to be.
It's interesting. I'm curious, since you brought it up. Are you comfortable with kids in the family playing football? Knowing how you feel today, knowing how your body feels now, are you still a proponent and supportive of kids playing?
Yes, I am. I think that they continue to make efforts to try and make the game as safe as possible. No leading with your head. I mean, the game has changed quite a bit since when I played. I mean, after seeing some of the guys being kicked out of the game, especially in college on some of the questionable calls, I knew a lot of guys wouldn't play a lot of games because that's how they play.
Greg, when I was doing some research for this interview, I came across maybe the biggest flex humanly possible, the Greg Pruitt rule. You have a rule named after you, banning tearaway jerseys in the NFL. Is there any way to have a bigger flex than have a rule named after you for what you did on the field? Because that seems to be maybe the coolest thing in the history of the entire world.
Well, I tell you, I was glad to see the rule, and I was glad to see them ban the jersey. When you're playing a game, I'm in a game, and that's 30 seconds between plays. Teams go out and they do scouting reports, and they know pretty much in down in situations, most likely when I'm going to get the ball, how often, based on that information, I would get the ball. So on some plays that they thought I was going to get the ball, guys would actually tear my jersey before the play even started. And then it should have been unsportsmanlike conduct, but it became an infraction to me. So I had to leave the field, change jersey, be back in the field, all within 30 seconds. So I can't tell you how many times they holler, it's on 3. I have no idea, what kind of defense I'm confronted with or what kind of adjustments they made. So it was a one less thing to worry about for me when they banned it.
How many jerseys did you have off to the side on the sideline?
Oh, a lot. I think I went the most I ever rolled through probably was like 5 jerseys in a game.
In a game.
And that's just part of it. Now, we live in Cleveland. We know that it gets cold in Cleveland.
Yeah.
And so in order for that jersey to work, you couldn't wear anything under it. So that meant I had a short sleeve T-shirt on, and it's like Sub-Zero out there. That wasn't fun time for me.
Oh my goodness.
That's crazy, Greg. We see the pictures flashing on the screen during some of the montages, and we talked to Leroy Horder about this when he comes on the show. He's a weekly guest during football season, but those big shoulder pads are something else, man. I gotta imagine you would have put up an extra 2,000-3,000 yards if you had normal size shoulder pads back in your day that were more aerodynamic, not slowing you down, right? Those things are crazy.
Well, I think they did do it to protect us. My style kind of helped me a lot. If I could see you, you couldn't hit me the way some guys I saw get hit. The hardest I got hit was from behind Julius Adams in the New England game. He hit me in the top of the head with his fist. He chased the play. They turned it back inside, and he was fast enough to get over and hit me. And then it was timeout. This is how they checked back then, because I heard bells. So I walk off the field, and I sit on the bench, and the doctor come over, and he says, "How many fingers is that?" And you get 3 chances to get it right. And then the big question was, what day was it? Because we all know we played on Sunday. So if you said anything other than Sunday, something was wrong.
Tuesday at 6 o'clock.
Oh my goodness.
Greg. I look at the Browns and I always tell them, the Cavs won the championship here, and obviously, this is a Browns town, and I always imagine what it would be like to see the Cleveland Browns. You know how they got all the pomp and circumstance on Super Bowl Sunday, right?
Unbelievable.
I think about just seeing the jerseys coming out there on the field, and the Lord willing, if they win that game, what would that be like across the Browns community of so many people that have watched their loved ones go on, that love the Browns and always wanted that? That would just be a special day, wouldn't it?
Definitely. It'd be huge. It's unimaginable how much celebrating we could do if the Browns won it all.
Crazy.
Greg, do you keep up with the current team at all?
Oh, yeah.
What do you think about Nick Chubb? And would his running style have translated to any era of football?
Well, I think I'm third in terms of yards from the line of scrimmage, fourth in terms of rushing the ball. And Chubb is finna push me down another slot, look like a couple of other guys in front of me. Chubb is special. His biggest gift is he has great vision. He is way faster than we think he is. Mm-hmm. And he has great balance.
And Greg, to kind of get that a little bit, last year I said it, I sat here and my partner Jay Crawford, he sat here, and I said, now look, Nick Chubb get about 18 carries, right? To me, if I got a Jacoby Brissett back there, and I know Nick Chubb got me 1,500 yards on 18 carries, I want to see him get 24 carries. I want to see him get 25 carries. Do you think that sometimes that the Cleveland Browns go away from what some people would consider their bread and butter?
Oh, I have the same frustration that you have. I'm a running back, but I concentrate on backs. And I see a lot of situations in games where there's a play that pretty much can win the game for you. And a lot of times it was running the football. Nick Chubb rushed for the yards he rushed and never got the opportunities that he should have gotten to get the yards he got. He's a quiet guy, don't have a lot to say, and I think the Browns are lucky that he has that temperament, because if I was in that situation, I'd be talking about not getting the ball a lot. Running backs, when you're in the game, you have to feel the pulse of a defense. You have to feel the speed and quickness of a defense, and there's some adjustments that you make. But it's a battle between you and the defense. And as the game goes on, if you're either winning that battle or you're losing that battle. And when you win it, you want the football. And I can see that in the games, and the Browns should see that too. We've almost lost games where if they just get a ball to Nick Chubb. I think it was a Detroit game that I went to, that he actually won the game, and they was doing everything they could not to give him the ball. And finally, they gave him the ball, and he won the game for him.
I thought, well, at least I'm not crazy. At least somebody who done it for a living like yourself at a very high level understands that frustration. Because I'm like, are y'all trying not to give it to him? Is he sick? Is he tired? Is his kid sick at school? Did he need to leave early? Where is Nicholas Chubb at?
Yeah, but you see, I think Nick gets upset about it, but I think he takes it out on the defense when he do get the ball.
Greg, we talked about this time after time again on the show here, but we all feel that this is the season that it's kind of all in for the Browns, that the pressure's here, the ingredients are there. Now it's time to go out and prove it. From a player's perspective, can you guys feel not the outside pressure from media, but just the internal pressure of it's kind of a make or break year for us, and if you can, how does that affect preparation and how you guys go about handling your business?
Well, I think that the Browns have the personnel and have had the personnel, but they didn't have the depth. And then they were unlucky that they got key people hurt. And because they didn't have the depth, it affected them more than it should have if they had had the depth. So the Browns got to stay healthy. And you got to be lucky enough to stay healthy because you can do all the things, be in the top shape and whatever. This game, any given play, could be your last play of the season, or it could be your last play of that game, and for 4 or 5 weeks, and all that affects the outcome of your season. I think Deshaun Watson is what they think he is. I think he's a great quarterback. I think no matter how good you are, if you're off for 2 years, you're not in the competition, you have to play the games to get back the chemistry you need to get as a quarterback to be effective in the NFL. This is going to be his first year after playing last year of preparation. And we got some people behind him that I think that option that they run where the back hands it to the quarterback, puts it in the quarterback, and then he pulls it out if it's not for that and runs it himself, I think it's going to be one of the better plays. The guy he's got the ball in the pocket is Nick Chubb, who has great vision too. I can't wait for the season to start.
Greg, are you surprised at all at how the position has been devalued across football?
Oh, yeah. I think you have to be smart. Cleveland Browns, again, I just alluded to how bad the weather gets here. That means that God don't want you to throw the football. So you're going to have to.
That's a quarter
That's
year.
a great line. That's a great line. Make sure we clip that.
Yeah. What a line.
So teams up in the North they can't just put it all on passing the ball. You can't throw the football. And when you got a guy like Nick Chubb, okay, we're gonna take what the defense gives us. And if that dictates sometimes running the football rather passing the football, then that's what we should do. We should never force passing the ball with a running back like we got.
But just the punishment that you guys take, that position takes, and then to not be rewarded financially to the level of some of the other positions that we see, it just feels like it's just a meat grind. It's become a meat grinder spot where you just wear this guy down to the nub, throw him out, and go find someone else.
I think the league thinks that throwing the football is more exciting, and that's really what the fans want to see. And somebody is going to pay for that philosophy because all teams are not set up that way. But the smart teams will have a balanced offense, a good defense to give opportunities to the offense, and an offense that takes advantage, and those are the teams that are going to advance farther than the other.
Greg, I got 2 questions for you based on some attire in your shot here. What's on your hat, real quick?
I was wondering the same thing.
Oh, ain't but one hat like that. It's I had a lady made this for me, and it's a dog.
Okay.
And it has dog pound on the back.
Oh, sweet.
That's
Okay.
fire.
And it has my number, it has Pruitt. So she made it for me.
Okay, that makes sense. Now I see the dog.
Yeah.
I was struggling to figure
Oh
out what
no,
it
I've
was.
seen it earlier. I was like, oh, that's
I
like
see
that
also
hat.
over your left shoulder you have the Jim Brown jersey. Obviously, Jim passed away earlier this year. Rest in peace. Do you have you guys are both in the Browns running back fraternity. Do you have a Jim Brown story or maybe a little Jim Brown insight you could share with us today?
Well, I know he was very The great, unfortunately for me and a lot of young guys, the great thing about golf is age has nothing to do with it. Old guys will kick your butt. So we played in a golf where the Browns had their annual barbecue and golf tournament, and we played. And then afterwards, a couple guys decided we wanted to go continue to play, so we went to Highland Golf Course, which is traditionally people say it was Jim Brown's golf course when he played for the Browns. That was a course that was hard to beat Jim on. So we went over and we played 9 holes at. Well, we played 18 holes at Highland, and I was neck and neck with Jim going to the 18th hole. Now Jim did not know that everybody plays on the golf course, and there's one hole that you just don't like. You just never do well, and it just beats you up. For me, 18 was that hole. So I'm neck and neck with Jim on 18, and he hits a ball on the green, and I hit a ball like 2 feet, and I got a birdie. That was the first time I got a birdie. It was the first time I got anything other than a par or a double on it, but he didn't know that. But he was so upset that he lost on that hole that he said, "We're playing tomorrow." So, okay, we can play tomorrow. So overnight, the weather changed, and it was almost, I would say like 25, 28 degrees. So I got up and went to the golf course. Me and Ben Davis, I went to the golf course anyway because I didn't want him to say that I got lucky and beat him, then I didn't show up. I was going to squash all of that. Although I was hoping we didn't play because it was just too cold. So I go to Highland, and Highland has they were remodeling the clubhouse. They were building it out, so they had a trailer out there, a construction trailer, and people and itself was still open. So there was one car under a telephone post with a light, and I pull up, and it's freezing, and I tell Ben, you think that's Jim's car? Well, we didn't know his car because he lived in L.A. and he rented a car when he came in. So anyway, I went up and I get out and it starts to rain. It's drizzling, and I go over to the car, and before I could knock on the window comes down. He has electric windows, and it's Jim. I said, Jim, hey, I came to play, man, but look like it ain't going. He said, it'll stop. I said, what you mean it'll stop? He said, we gonna. I said, we gonna. He said, yeah, we gonna play. So I said, okay. So I go back over to Ben and I tell Ben he wants to play. He said, all right, okay. So Jim gets out of his car. When he gets out of his car, he got jeans on, no socks, a sweatshirt on, short sleeve. And he gets out of his car, takes his regular shoes off, puts his golf shoes on, still don't put socks on, and he puts a windbreaker over his sweatshirt. I got Gore-Tex, and I'm freezing. So we go out and we play, and man, I'm telling you, it's just miserable. This is like a test of wheels, I guess. Golf out, that was the last thing I was thinking about. So after 9 holes, we got back, you got to cross. And so Jim said, I don't know about you guys, but I had enough. I said, what? He said, I had enough. I said, is that a forfeit? He said, call it what you want. I said, okay. And he didn't know I was going to quit before he said that. But yeah, he's very competitive, and he's a good golf. He really is a good golf. I tell kids all the time, when you're real young, you don't know what's in your future. You try to do the right things, make the right decisions, and things work out for you. And know the person that's giving you advice loves you and gives you the best advice they can give you. When I was about 10, 11 or 12, something like that, we used to watch the games on TV, and I remember watching the Browns play the Giants. Sometimes I see a highlight, they show it on TV, and Jim Brown runs a sweep to the right on the Giants. Instead of running out of bounds, he plants his foot right at the sideline, and he drops his shoulder, and he runs over the guy that was trying to hit him, and he runs for like 40 yards for a touchdown. So when this game is over, everybody is all fired up, want to be Jim Brown, and so we go out to play football. So it was so many of us, we decided to pull straws to see who was going to be Jim Brown. And one of my friends named Charles Law, he got the chance to be Jim Brown, and we go out to play, and we play tackle, and he runs a sweep, and you can see he could turn the corner and have a touchdown. He slows down, and he's trying to reenact what he saw on TV, and he drops his shoulder. Three of us hit him. We broke both of his legs and his arm, and so he come back. So he limped for a long time after that. All these years later, I'm playing Jim, and I tell him the story. I said, at first I asked him, I kind of said it. I said, Jim, how it feels? Everybody, everywhere you go, everybody know you, everybody love you, everybody always, you can't, there's no problems. I said, how you like that? He said, well, sometimes it's okay, sometimes it's not. I said, well, I got some bad news for you. He said, what? I said, well, I know a guy, a friend of mine named Charles Law. He limps to this day. And I told him that story about how it happened. And Jim looked at me and he said, you know what? That proves a point, don't it, Greg? I said, what? I said, what does it prove? He says, only one Jim Brown.
Good stuff.
Well, Greg, we appreciate you taking some time to join us on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show today. Those are the kind of stories we can't get anywhere else but from a Browns legend himself. Greg, best of luck. Yeah. Stay healthy, and we appreciate you spending some time with us.
Thank you, Greg.
All right, thank you. Till next time. Bye-bye.
Awesome. That was the great Greg Pruitt with a one-of-a-kind Jim Brown story. And
that's crazy.
As much fun it is to impersonate some people, like he said, there is one Jim Brown.
There's one Jim Brown.
And you can get hurt playing tackle football regardless if it's an NFL field, if it's with your buddies, it don't matter. Yep. Getting tackled hurts. Speaking of things that hurt, Jason.
Well, before we get to things that hurt, I want to remind people of the good things.
Yes.
You can see your favorite golf legends play in the Colleague Companies Championship July 12th through July 16th at the famous Firestone Country Club. Fun, family-friendly events all week long featuring a new fan zone experience, free attendance for kids, and concerts every single night. There's something for everyone. Learn more at colleaguegolf.com.
So earlier, or I guess last month now, we went out, we mic'd up Adam DeBoll for a Little League baseball game. He coached his team, and they lost 7-5 in the Little League game we were out there for. But we knew they were going to lose because they didn't know they were going to lose, but Bull's team was 3-9 entering that game. The expectations were not to win. Well, then Jason was like, well, you got to come out and shoot one of our games. So, of course, I'm like, all right, Jason, let's go out, pick a game. Let's have some fun.
So you're the problem. It's
might
you.
Be the problem. I might be the problem. I'm going to get Jay next. But last week, I went out, mic'd up Coach Jason Lloyd. You know Jason as the NBA insider extraordinaire, but you don't know Jason like this. Play it, Mike.
Please tell me you got that. Dodgers on 3.
1, 2, 3, Dodgers!
All right, guys, let's have fun. Put your butt down, let your butt hit first. It's the most meat you got. Hands back. Explode through the ball.
Go, 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 go!
Okay. Good shot, buddy.
That's mine.
Oh! Knees bent, hands back. Elbow up.
That's Owen. Good hitter. Top pitcher.
All right, Tommy, let's go. Keep it going. Keep it going. Oh, complete the throw all the way through, okay? There you go. There it is. All right, guys. Hey, good pick at third. Good pick. Be aggressive. Swing at strikes.
I just sit on the bucket the whole time. That's it. I got coaches do it.
Tony La Russa.
Chris.
That's really good.
Up. Good job, guys. Good job.
Somebody get a birth certificate on that kid on second.
Get us out of it, all right? Just hit the mid. Go.
Where the field of mount pitcher?
Good job, guys. Good job. Let's go. Hustle in. How many hits you want me to make? 2? Now would be a great time for 1. You come up this inning, I'll take 1 right here. Good rip. A little quicker, buddy. A little quicker.
1 big hit.
There it is. There it is. That's what we needed.
Bases clearing triple.
That's what we needed. Tyler Jones! Good shot, Tyler. Good rip. Wyatt, be ready for a play at the plate. Great play, Seb. Great play.
Somebody's trying to kill me.
Oh, hey.
Good job, guys. Seb, way to be. AJ, way to pick it.
Yeah, we were up 10-7 going to the last inning. Mike's like, I'm out of here. I'm like, yeah, we got this on wrap. Gave up 4 in the last inning. Lost 11-10. It's only our second loss of the year.
Hey, man. That was an impressive. He turned the double play by himself and a good scoop at first.
Sebastian's a really good little player.
I like that.
Yeah,
I like that action. By the way, there's nothing more nostalgic. Like, I love football, but, bro, when you see people doing that, like going down and playing baseball, like I get emotional.
I tell anyone I'm with,
emotional.
if I'm just walking around and I hear basketball, I can hear a basketball from 10 miles away. And I'm like, oh, someone's playing basketball.
Yeah.
And it makes me, it hurts me to walk past just like parks on a nice day and just see empty courts.
Yeah, that hurts me
And if anyone's playing, I'll stop and watch. I don't care if it's 2 4-year-olds playing. Like, I cannot walk past a basketball court with a game going on and not stop and watch. And to your point, G, like going out there, I played baseball for 2 years in high school. I wasn't any good or anything, but to see kids having fun, playing on a nice night.
Yeah.
It was hot. Like it was hot. On
I was sweating
Friday.
like a fat kid out there.
Yeah, I got a couple shots of you from the side with some sweat. I selectively edited those out, but like it's cool to see little kids having fun and
Parents out there,
and I wanted to put Mr. Menino in there. I couldn't weave it in because he did like an interview with him. I can send you that clip, but I'll say this: we've done Bull, we've done Jason, 2 completely different coaching styles. Not saying one's better or worse than the other, but Bull, every play, life or death, and Jason just sits on the bucket. Jason just sits on the bucket.
But that like you don't know, like there's people, like when I was playing, there's people who had coaching styles like that and you memorize them, and like everybody played like teams. I played for the Royals. In our division we had the Brewers, the Yankees, the A's, the Red Sox, right? That was our side of town. Then we played other side of the towns, but there was always different coaching staffs, and you knew all the coaching staffs because like his personality was like, okay, if you playing the Brewers, all of them is sitting back. And you knew the Brewers coaches because they would always be getting hammered after the game. Like they would sit there after the game's over, hammered, right? The Yankees would be mad, right? Yankees be upset. They'd be like somewhere in the tower like, oh my gosh, I can't, but they'd be yelling at each other. Royals was dysfunctional as hell. Like we just had a bunch of, but those days are more passionate to me than high school days. Like high school baseball was fun. I played all the way through from the time I was 6 all the way till I was 19. So it's like, but it's nothing like them summer days and you smell the concession stand and kids is running around. It's hazy outside. So you remember those days, man, especially if your son is playing.
Yeah. That was AJ that hit it to the fence. That was my.
Yeah, that's the birth certificate. That's the birth certificate kid. I'm confused. He's already bigger than him. Like he's taller than you. Like this
his
dude.
feet are bigger than mine. His hands are bigger than mine.
He got a mustache.
His voice is deeper than mine.
He does have a mustache.
It's for real. Facts.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
But we got so many kids that like are so emotional and they live on life and death. So I try and be like the calm everyone down.
Yeah.
That's why I joked with you guys. That's why I like Kevin Stefanski so much. That's why we get along. I'm just calm on the sidelines, never scream, never yell, just keep everything under control. We had to pull the whole infield in after you left. They hit bases clearing triple, 10-10 game. Like, guys, it's okay. It's all right. Pull the infield in. We got the out at the plate, and then the other team won anyway. So
I will say, great group of kids.
They're awesome.
You told them before the game, hey, pretend the camera's not there.
Yep.
I was invisible.
Yep.
The other coach the other coach was asking me to move and try to be on camera. Not try to be on camera, but you know what I'm saying. Like, played around the camera more than any of the kids. And obviously I wish they had won, but great group of kids to be around. And they clearly listen and respond to you very well. So.
I didn't fall asleep till after 3 a.m. Friday night. I was so devastated over that loss. Like, it's wreck, whatever. Right. But like when we lose, I feel like I let them down. Yeah, and it's just...
Man, look, that's life and death at that moment. Like, that's the cool thing about it. I would love for every coach to feel like that because then you know it means something. You got something in it.
Best part that you guys didn't see on camera for this, and Anthony, I'll let you go real quick. Game started at 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
NBA free agency started at 6 o'clock. Like, exactly the same time. So my phone's blowing up, and I have Jason mic'd up, so I'm, like, on the other side of the field. And I see Jason's like, someone's got to take my phone. Oh, crap, it's for... He got that. Good pitch.
He got that.
And eventually you have to put your phone.
I took my phone and watch off, and I gave it to my oldest son. Showed up. I'm like, just take this. I can't do two things at once.
Seeing Jay, and that's when everyone signs, and
Yep.
somehow they all agree to contracts in 12 seconds.
Right,
But
right.
that was a funny part that I didn't want to weave in to take away from the kids, but that was very funny. Anthony, you got one more thing before we got to wrap?
I just want to remind everybody that there's no show tomorrow.
No show tomorrow. We are doing overtime though.
We are doing overtime. We're going to finish up some viewer questions. And, man, I'm bummed watching these packages because I played Little League for 1 year, and I had a terrible coach. And under Bull or Jason, I think I would have played more. So.
Good coaches make a total difference. We will see you on overtime, and Jay's getting mic'd up next sometime soon. Peace.
Oh, by the way,
Roll the
yeah,
state.
I didn't even know we had no show tomorrow. I'm glad you told me that.
no
I've
show
been in here looking around.